What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode and live stream of Let's Get Nuts here on the Ben Thomas Show. I am your host, Ben Thomas. Today, guys, we have a great show planned for you. I'm going to talk to the panel, who is a great team of dudes, by the way, who are all showing up for me here on a Sunday to get nutty, of course. We're going to talk a little bit about Matt Reeves' Batman universe. What villains would we love to see in that Matt Reeves universe? We're also going to talk about a potential tease of Null, the symbiote god in Venom 3. We got a little James Earl Jones news in there, and then so much Hot Toys and 6-scale figure news. It's going to make your head spin like Beetlejuice. So guys, with that said, let's get nuts.
What are you doing? You're completely outnumbered here. Are you nuts? You want to get nuts? You want to get nuts?
You want to get nuts?
You want to get nuts? You want to get nuts? Come on. Let's get nuts. Let's get nuts.
Let's get nuts.
Let's get nuts. Let's get nuts.
Alrighty then. Guys, by the way, the Batmobile is behind me. If you guys have any creative solutions as to how I should display this bad boy, I would love to hear from you guys in the chat, or the panel, of course, because right now it's becoming a dust collector already, but it's a beautiful piece from Hot Toys, and we've got a few panelists here today who may have actually had the Jazz Inc. one in hand too, so we might ask a couple questions about that later. But let's bring in our first guest of the day. We haven't seen him here in a while. We've got Luis from Pop Culture Relics here with us again. Good to see you, buddy. How are you?
Doing well, man. How are you doing?
Good, good. Well, I told you I was in the gym today, raced home, just wolfed down some protein yogurt and my booster juice. So if I seem a little sweaty and out of breath, I apologize. I'm not that excited to get nuts today. It's just, it's part of the workout day. So
I'm excited to have us, so completely understandable. We're excited to be here.
Hell yeah, dude.
Definitely, thank you.
Yeah, man, it's been a couple of weeks since we had you here, so I'm excited to get your take on a lot of this stuff, because I don't think, it's funny, right? All the live streams all throughout the week, sometimes you get some repeated takes, so I like having the panelists on like you that I haven't heard any takes from you yet, so it's all fresh here on a Sunday afternoon.
Love it,
so,
thank you.
Good to see you, buddy. Hell yeah.
Likewise.
Next guest. Heck yeah. Our next guest here today, you may have seen him in a tank top recently, hunched over this beautiful bat car in his garage. He had Calvin come out, take a look, and touch it as well. And it sounds dirty to say, but we got Philly here from Figurecraft. Good to see you, buddy. How are you, man?
Good, great. Really excited to be here. Don't forget also the dad bod, the little tummy that was displaying among kind of getting in the way of the Batmobile. So
it's not a dad bod. It's not a dad bod. It's a father figure. Don't worry about it.
So
that's great.
But luckily, I know you're just telling us you're trying to get your your Speedo body ready for next summer. So you're encouraging me to go hit the gym, and I'm looking forward to that. Thanks for having me again. It's been a while, and looking forward to this. And let's talk some figures, news, and entertainment.
Love it. Love it. So happy you guys are here today. And it was actually Philly that introduced me to Luis, so that's awesome as well. You guys are already tight pals, and I feel like I've been included in the friendship group, so I appreciate it. Guys, we have another full circle. Guys, we have another wonderful guest here. Sometimes he can be a little spicy. Sometimes he's just a little matter of fact. Sometimes he just brings the energy. We got Chris from the Vintage Rebellion podcast, as well as over at Collecting Weekly, here with us again. Good to see you, buddy. How are you?
Hey, man. I don't know. You always have a nice, diverse range of content on your show sheet, so it's a fun stop on a Sunday, man. Happy to be here.
Hell yeah. I try. It's hard sometimes with, again, especially the figure weeks where there hasn't been a ton of new stuff out. There was a couple weeks ago where it was like, man, like I can't even keep up. Like, we're going to have to split this show into 2 different shows just to try and, review all of the wallet killers that are out there. And then, of course, we had a couple weeks here where it's like 1 or 2. But this week, I was really excited to talk about some of the stuff that we got on the show sheet today, so stay tuned for that as well. We will have Pete here later today from Only Fools and Collecting over Collecting Weekly. He's just getting his affairs in order on his end before he jumps in with us, because he also got the Aragorn figure from InArt that he sent us a couple pictures of that he wanted to, give his take on. And I was surprised because, sometimes Pete can be a little, not negative, but like critical, I think is the right word to say. and he sent us the photos in our private chat, and I was like, the photos look good. You like it, right? He's like, yeah, it's amazing. So not to spoil, but we'll get Pete's take when he comes in. Guys, let's start the show because we got lots to get through today. I want to start with this warm up before I say hello to all of the chat, everybody that's here, and I see you guys all rolling in. Thank you for being here, getting nuts with us here on a Sunday. I love you guys. Today we're gonna start off with this. I have seen so many pictures of Bautista around the internet over the last, 2 or 3 weeks. It's interesting because this man has been an absolutely massive physical presence for honestly as long as I can remember him. And over the last little while, he's dropped quite a bit of weight. And it was creating some speculation of, is he okay? Is his health okay? He's come out and said, yeah, I'm good. I just don't want to maintain that size anymore. It actually feels more physically comfortable to be at this scale, and it sets me up for some different types of acting roles that I'd like to be potentially involved in. And of course, we all know that James Gunn's DC Universe is coming, and I saw this photo posted the other day on Facebook or somewhere. I don't know. Credit to whoever made this collage of photos, because I could 100% see a Hugo Strange and David Bautista now, which is something I never thought I would actually say out loud. But damn, is it a little uncanny? So I was curious for you guys, because I was excited about this as even just a potential fan casting. I don't know if it's actually going to happen or come to fruition. But who would you guys love to see come to a Matt Reeves universe potentially, or even a James Gunn DC universe from the Batman kind of rogues gallery? I would love to see a Victor Freeze. I think they could do a good Bane again. I think a Poison Ivy is definitely a great contender. Characters like Clayface might be more difficult if it's trying to be, rooted in the element of the real. But I could see an argument for why that could be cool as well. Louis, I'm going to start with you first, good sir. What are your thoughts on Bautista potentially being fan cast as a Hugo Strange, and what villains would you like to see? Right?
No, I see it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think him losing all that weight and can land him more roles. Whether or not he can get away from that Drax role will yet to be seen. But with Gunn kind of recycling characters and whatnot, yeah, I could see him being Strange for sure. I know we got a little bit of spoiler alert, a little Joker action in the Batman, but I wasn't a huge fan of the portrayal, at least for that deleted scene. So I'd love to see the Joker. Would definitely take Mr. Freeze. I would love to see Clayface. I know that would be pretty weird to try to make it live action, but I think with his spin on it, it could work out. Even if they do it kind of like Scarecrow, how Nolan did it with a mask. So yeah, I mean, the other villains can be a little whimsical, but I mean, at this point, I think really it could be an option, and with his spin on it, I think it'd be nice. So, but yeah.
Well, and maybe it's a cop out, dude. But I could see even Clayface as like a master of disguise, right? Somebody who has the ability to change his face using prosthetics and everything. So he's just he's literally a master of disguise, but he doesn't necessarily look like the big mud creature that we know him as. But somebody that can fit into any environment. You've seen even nowadays they have those super ultra realistic skin masks that people can wear, kind of like the old Mission Impossible movies, and
it's funny you bring that up. I was gonna say Mission Impossible too. Even if you get just crazy technology, or even with the theatrics and just stealing masks and whatnot. So yeah, that could work for sure. Absolutely.
Hell yeah. And I'm getting word here from England that somebody has popped into the back channel. Word from England. Hello. Do we have Pete? We've got Pete here. Pete from Only Fools and Collecting. Good to see you, buddy. How are you? Long time no see, man.
Good evening, Earl. Yeah, it's been a while, but it's good to be back.
How's it going, man?
the last time we saw you, Pete, you were in a completely dark room. I actually didn't think you had any collection left.
That's
and
right.
now you're surrounded by collection. It looks so good, dude. I'm gonna put you full screen real quick. Look at that.
The cabinets are all up, connections all back in. So I need to do my collection tour at some point. But yeah, you've got some indie, some Empire, some Lord of the Rings behind me there.
Light up sabers. Love to see.
Yeah, and it's funny because I've never had the my figures in the backdrop before, like all you guys. So it's nice to actually have something to to sit in front of, and
Looks crispy, dude. Looks really good. Happy
Cheers,
to have you here. Happy to have you back. And I'm excited to get your take on Aragorn. I tried not to spoil how you felt, but I wasn't sure how you'd feel either. As I said, when I said to these guys when you posted the photos in our chat, I was like, I think they look good, but is Pete going to be like they look like shit, or he likes them? It's hard to know. So, Pete, we're talking a little bit about either the Matt Reeves universe or even the DC universe from James Gunn. There's a little bit of fan casting here with Bautista being a possible Hugo Strange, but you know, Batman rogues villains are traditionally a little bit on the wild side, a little bit of like kind of reality adjacent at times, similar to like Clayface and some of those characters. But what would you love to see as a rogues gallery villain in a live action film?
First of all, the Hugo Strange spot on. I'm not sure about the pearl necklaces, but other than that, he's looking good.
I didn't even notice.
I'm quite a fan of the sort of monsterish ones. So I think of this gallery you've got here, I'd probably go with Killer Croc and someone we've never seen in a film, I don't think, Solomon Grundy. Such a cool figure, and a real oddity. I'm not quite sure how you'd get him into a movie, but it'd be great to see him because he's a great hulking beast of a zombie.
No doubt.
But yeah, that'd be cool.
Absolutely. And it's hard to know, it's hard to know if Matt Reeves' universe would go that way because it's like he's really trying to keep it seems like anyways, like really cemented in the kind of the real world. But that's not to say that a zombie creature still couldn't exist in that real world. Like the real world doesn't have to be like our real world either.
No, I think I'd like to see it go back a little bit more into that sort of fantasy area because we've had the Nolan, we've had the Patterson one, all very serious, all very grounded, great films. But it would be nice to have something that's a little bit more, not quite, Joel Schumacher crazy, but something a little bit more comic book. I think would be good to see.
Totally agree. Well said, buddy. Chris, same question for you, buddy. Where on this list does this sit for you? What would you really like to see out of either a DC universe or another Matt Reeves film?
Oh, I think the Matt Reeves stuff is pretty obvious that it's trying to be a little more grounded, so I wouldn't expect any of those mutant monsters. But it's is it too early to say like the sort of tone that James Gunn's going for with those movies? Like, I mean, after all, Superman is an alien, right? So I don't know.
I think it is you're right. I think it is too early to tell at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. There's there's ways you could do like a realistic Clayface, but I'm sort of with Pete. I don't want that. I don't need a realistic Clayface in my life. What was he gonna? He's gonna rob Legacy Effects, and he's gonna force some movie guy to make him look like a monster when he goes out, and just to freak everyone out so they think he's a supernatural being. That might be good now that I hear it, but that's kind of what you got in Batman Begins, like where like Scarecrow was like the only reason people thought he was a monster in a few cases was because they were highly intoxicated at the time they saw him. Yeah. So I feel like that's sort of been done, but I don't know. I feel like there might be an interesting modern take you could do on Poison Ivy. Like, like they make a character who's like basically Greta Thunberg, who gets like some vial gets spilt on her and she goes crazy. That's kind of what happened in the Joel Schumacher one, but you could update that a little bit. But man, I don't know. I think this Bautista thing, they're just saying that because on this one particular day, he happened to be wearing a black suit and wearing glasses and looked like this 20-year-old version of. I think it's just it's association by vague visual similarity, but he used to be green too, so I wouldn't read too much into that. But
that's fair. That's fair. And it's interesting too, because I've always said, like, as long as the character represents like a good story, I don't really care what actor plays the role. They don't even necessarily have to look the same as what's in our mind's eye. The Riddler was a good example of that in the Matt Reeves film. When I close my eyes and think of the Riddler, I did not think of that representation, but it still made for a really cool character because of the way it was shot and written. So, yeah, you don't have to have somebody look like Hugo Strange necessarily to be a great Hugo Strange. But at the same time, you can't argue. Yeah, like, holy crap, talk about visual association, 100%. He's really there. Philly, you are surrounded by awesome characters, dude. And I know you love collecting as much as you love entertainment. What about you? What would you love to see out of either a DC universe or a Matt Reeves film?
I think I think Scarlett Johansson was basically born to play Poison Ivy. I think a more refined, version of that would be great to see. She would be interesting. And then now for these villains, I think they should tap into these villains that haven't been tapped before. You got Mad Hatter, you have, Man Bat. I think that we would see good iterations of those, especially in Matt Reeves. I know Matt Reeves is more grounded, but maybe if we're doing the new DCU, it's going to be more probably fantastical, like kind of like more mystical and stuff like that. Maybe we can see those villains there, but that and Killer Croc, that should be good. As for David Bautista, I think he would be, he basically wants to be seen as more of a serious actor, and that's why he's not pumping iron anymore. He's getting older. He can't do that anymore. And I think, originally everybody was thinking of him as Bane, but now that you see him now, he lost all that muscle. He can easily do a Hugo Strange, and he is a good actor and he's got talent. So if that's a possibility, that I would love to see that.
Well, and it's funny too, because like I was saying at the beginning of the show, I've been hitting the gym like crazy, and I'm about 225 pounds right now and 6'2", and I look at Dave Bautista and I'm like, man, yeah, he has really slimmed down. It almost looks like he stopped lifting weights. But I watched an interview with him the other day, and he's like, I'm still 6'2", almost 6'3" at 245 pounds. He's like, compared to the average person, I'm still gigantic. It's just compared to the over 300 pounds I was at one point. I obviously look really skinny now. So it's weird to think of that just in terms of physical characteristics. Bane could have been cool, but I would like to see some original characters too. Even like to counter your point, Luis, like I didn't like seeing the Joker in that Matt Reeves film at the end. Not only did I don't love Barry Keoghan, I think is his name. I don't love that actor specifically. I don't know, something about his face just bugs me, but it was also a really scary representation of Joker, which was hard to look at. Like there's something about Heath Ledger's Joker where he was a little on the scary side, but you almost couldn't help but like smile when you watched his representation of the Joker. Like he was able to make you smile the whole time while being creeped out, and like also like what's gonna happen with this dude. Whereas Barry Keoghan, I was kind of like the whole time, like, ooh, like, I don't know. I don't love that look. So, but at the same time, there are so many other characters, which is why I was curious what you guys would think. I've heard Calendar Man being floated around a lot in the entertainment world. And I'm like, really? Like, I wouldn't have thought Calendar Man would be all that exciting for people. Like, what about Condiment King then? Or like,
yeah, I was thinking that too.
Right? Yeah. So, but no, well said, guys. Well said. Folks, we have 30 people watching already live with us here today on a Sunday, and only the first 20 minutes of the show. I love to see it. I want to say hi to everybody before we continue on with some entertainment news. So let's say hi to everybody.
Is that everyone? I can put it more.
Nuts!
Assemble.
Nuts assemble. Guys, who do we have here in the chat with us? We got Valkyrie Magnus, one of our channel members, says, good afternoon, men and fellow Tough Nut crowd. Happy weekend, guys. It's that time. Let's get nuts with all of the emojis. Love to see it. We got Mike, the Sith Scale Collector, here in the chat. He couldn't make it today. He's like, I'm going to watch it, on replay later. He's got a family event. Hopefully you're having a great family time, buddy, and we can get you back on a future week as well. Have an awesome day, dude. We got Thalia Meyer in the chat with us as well. Hello and happy Sunday, everyone. Good to see you here. We got Trevor Weed, one of our channel members. Howdy. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for popping in. We got Gary's Grails. Good afternoon. Good to see you, sir. I would love to see what grails you have in your collection. Let me know where I can find that info. We got King Dingaling, again, one of our channel members here. Finally, a new nut stream. Yes, absolutely. I think, were we here last week? I think we were here last week, but every once in a while I take a week off, so I don't even remember anymore. It's hard to say. All my weeks are blending together. It's one of those times. We got Fickercraft here, channel member in the panel as well as in the chat. Good day, y'all. Happy Sunday. Time to get nutty and maybe some nougat. I'm trying to stay away from the unhealthy stuff, okay, Philly? You're not helping, buddy. We got Mr. Kennedy in the chat here. He says, sup, everyone? Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for popping in. We got 12-inch Moose Stream, one of our good channel members here, of course. Hello, community of collectors. Brown Wolverine and Return of the Jedi Vader ×2 arrives tomorrow. Thrawn, Scorch, Yellow Wolverine ×2 coming soon. Oh my goodness, dude. Where are you even going to put all of this stuff? We need a collection tour, Moose. We need one. We got Rogue One Photography here in the chat with us. Hello, all you lovely people, as well as, of course, one of our valued channel members here as well. We got Mark P in the chat. Hello, everyone, or hey, everyone. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for popping in. Who else do we got? Mr. Jose Plus, Jose G. Hernandez, one of our greatest channel members, of course, as well, with a hello, everyone. We gotta get Jose back. Last time I saw him was on the Thank You for Collecting live stream there a week or so ago. Over on 166, and that was a really good time, as well as Uncommon Flex. So definitely check out those channels as well, guys, if you get the opportunity, of course. I'm glad my brain is working today. No weed before the gym is a good call. We got Honest Hansel in the chat here with us. Afternoon Nuts. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for popping in. We got Pop Culture Relics both in the chat, as well as a member, as well as on the panel. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here. We got Blue Tattoo in the chat with us as well. Happy to see you here, my friend. X-Men Supreme, one of our channel members, he says, if we're tapping villains, then I call dibs on Ivy and Batmite. So you want to tap Batmite, though? I'm confused about that. You might have to clarify. A little bit for us, buddy. But I'm happy to have you here, of course. Thanks for being here. We've got my mom, Rachel Miller, in the chat, one of our channel members, as well as the person who brought me into this world to get nuts every Sunday with you folks. Appreciate you being here. Love you lots. Don't let 12-inch Moose Stream hit on you. Okay, she is taken. Okay, just put it out there. We got Rogue One Photography using their free super chat of the 8-month membership already. Holy crap! I can't even believe I've had members this long already, guys. But it says, let's get nuts. Thanks for using that here, buddy. I appreciate you. We got Low Key Collector in the chat with us. That still looks like a flying banana to me. I gotta really get my eyes checked or something. But buddy, happy to have you here. Philly was telling me you are on the workout game right now as well. Let me know if you want to share any tips on food and exercise, because I've been really nerding out on that kind of stuff lately. We got Samson1244 in the chat. Yo, good to see you here. New name, actually, from what I'm seeing. So thank you for being here and getting nuts with us today. We got Yomo in the chat as well. Yo, what's up, everyone? Good to see you, my friend. I think that is pretty much everybody. I'll just do a quick scroll here, guys. Yep, I think that's everybody. If I missed anybody, call me out in the chat. I will make sure you get a shout out today, of course, with a pound there. Pete, I gotta get this off you, buddy, so you can see. Okay. Jose says, wasn't I on the LW 100th show with you? I was a little drunk at that show. I don't remember most of it, to be honest. I should not have drank so much. So, note to self: don't drink on LWO. You might say things that you don't mean. So, no, I'm just kidding. Jose. I love you, buddy. Let's move on with the show, of course. If you guys want to become a Tough Nut channel member, these are some of the badges that will appear beside your name when you guys are in the live chat. Link is in the chat right now for you guys if you are interested. Most of us are getting into that 6 to 12 month range, the live long and nut. I'm excited to see the bub nut starting to show up beside people's name, though. That's one of my favorite designs from Dean the Dream Martin, of course. And then emojis. If you have any emojis today that you want to share with us, especially if anything makes you want to hammer that nut button, you just let us know with the emojis in the chat and we will call it out for sure. Guys, Venom 3 is coming soon, and we just got what looks like kind of a final teaser trailer from the film. Now, Honestly, I really liked the first Venom movie. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. While he didn't have the symbiote symbol, the white symbol on his chest itself, I still liked it, and I like Tom Hardy. I liked most things about it. And then when the second film was coming out, Let There Be Carnage, I was like, how can it fail? I freaking love Carnage. I love the Maximum Carnage comic book series and run. I love all of like the Planet Symbiote comics and everything. How can it go sideways? And I really disliked that movie, to my like dismay. Visually, it was super cool, and it was cool to see a live action Carnage and Venom, squaring off, but the story just like was not there. And so it really kind of like ruined the steam I had, or excitement for a Venom 3 film. But Venom 3 is coming either way, and being a comic nerd that I am, and a kind of a Venom nerd that I am, I'll still definitely see it. But with Null being teased, I should say, at least, I don't know if it's going to be 100% confirmed. You can see in the screenshot on the right side his kind of long blonde hair, which to me seems like a confirmation that he'll be there. I'm not sure how I feel about this, for a couple reasons, and then I'm going to go to the panel. Reason number one: if this is the third film, and likely the final film, to introduce Null, such a huge, big, super villain baddie, in this movie, just for this set of films to be kind of done with, feels almost like they've wasted the opportunity. Null had great story in the comic books, both with Gore the God Butcher, Silver Surfer, like tons of different characters, the Guardians of the Galaxy, even the Eternals. And so those are all characters that exist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, whereas this rendition of Venom, as of right now, does not exist in that universe. So if Null comes in, is this the only opportunity we're going to get to see it? And is it going to be like a 15-minute section of the movie and then that's just kind of it? He is literally the god of the symbiotes. He controls them. He's what created them. And like, it's wild. I'm going to read a couple things for you really, really quickly here, just so in case you guys don't know who Null is specifically. So Null is a fictional supervillain appearing in the Americomic books published by Marvel Comics, commonly in association with Venom and Carnage. He was later retroactively established as an unseen enemy of Thor and the Silver Surfer, as he was behind Gore the God Butcher's mission to hunt down and kill various deities or gods. In addition to having come into conflict with the Silver Surfer via a temporal black hole through time, the character is depicted as an evil deity who's created the weapon known as the All Black, or the Necro Sword, and the alien races known as the Clintar, or the Symbiotes, and Exlons. Now, the character would go on to play a more important role in the Marvel Universe, but again, that's part of the issue that I'm having, is that this is Marvel Universe adjacent. His powers and abilities, just so you guys are aware, he possesses superhuman strength and durability. He is depicted as an immortal being. He's able to generate and manipulate eldritch darkness, and can manifest darkness to create weapons and living creatures. He can essentially fly. He can possess symbiotes. He can create like dragon-like shaped symbiotes as well, which is kind of wild. And he's a shapeshifter, so he can scale down. He can look like a normal human, or he can have that venomous, teethy look like a lot of the symbiotes do. So, all of that being said, actually, Rogue One Photography says, Ben, why does he have a spider symbol on his chest? Well, that's a good question, because I have no idea. I don't even remember why he does. And I'm sure he won't in the Venom movies. My biggest concern here, guys, is it's going to be skimmed over. It's going to be too short of a segment. And it's not going to be a fleshed out character. I think that's the biggest thing. And he's just too cool to skim over. Philly, what are your thoughts on a Null potentially showing up in this version of the universe?
One thing that we forgot to mention also is he's tapped in to every symbiote and across the universe and multiverse. So he knows, he has the knowledge of every single symbiote. And that goes for Spider-Man 3. The Venom, the Topher Grace, I believe. So you never know, but yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, because to me, it's just, I mean, Sony is kind of locked into a corner. I mean, this is basically the only villain they could have done that is well known. I mean, you tell me a different villain that is in the Venom verse that could have done a third movie. I mean, I think this is obviously the logical choice in regards to obviously, again, they're not planning these correctly. They're just going with the whim, and if they make money, they go for the second sequel, and they just kind of use a throwaway character, and that's very unfortunate because there's a lot more character building with Carnage. There was a lot more character building with Null, and I think the first Venom, unfortunately, I do like it, but I disagree with you because I think originally the original pitch was supposed to be more like a horror type of film style, because Venom, I mean, if you look at Venom now, he kind of looks almost cartoonish or comical, which with the dynamic with Eddie Brock. So I think personally they should have done a horror style film, kind of give you that kind of scary type of thing, but also be funny. It's a possibility for dude to do both, but I think it's just they missed the boat on that. And the first Venom was okay, and the second Venom was forgettable, and then this one is probably going to be the same thing. So unless they're planning to do something different, I think I think they had no choice to get this one, and they're gonna just throw them in there, and we're gonna suffer for that.
Possibly wasted. Hard to say. X-Men Supreme with a cool comment here says, spoiler alert, Null is evolved from... Null is the evolved form of Peter Parker. He transcended time and space and sent the Venom symbiote to Battleworld for his past self to find and start him down a path to immortal evil. I don't remember that storyline at all, so I'm just going to trust that that's true, but that's crazy, man. That, again, no time in a Venom 3 to establish that at all, right? Jose is also saying here, the Null creator stated that he read a script from Venom and Null square off. Rumor is Null might be involved in Spider-Man 4. But again, I don't know how they'll cross those universes then without some pretty serious explanation. Multiverse is a thing, but a lot of people are getting sick of the multiverse. Chris, any thoughts on Venom 3 or even the series of Venom movies so far and an inclusion of such a badass character?
Yeah, I mean, I know that this character has only been...
I didn't think that was true. Sorry, I didn't think that was true.
yeah.
I was like, I don't remember that at all, but...
Well, he literally said that Null is Peter Parker, so you gotta watch out for that guy. But I don't know, man. It's like I hear you guys are saying that it's gonna be skimmed over a little bit, but I mean, this character is it's 10 years old, something like that. Is it that sacred? Like, maybe you guys have been following the comics closer than me, but it's your last kick at the can for a Venom movie, and it's a notable villain they can use. I'll be surprised if they actually try and keep him around and put him in Spider-Man 4. If they use this movie to introduce him a little bit, and then he's in Spider-Man 4, if they can pull that off on paper with Sony, that's interesting, because I think it's not a bad use of Venom 3 to try and connect it to something people are a little more invested in. But I don't know, man. It's a cool design, and if his backstory is fun just because it predates the universe and he's sort of outside of space and time and all that. I mean, it's a little heavy for Venom 3. I'll be interested to see how much they actually give you in terms of that backstory, but I don't know, man. For me, I didn't feel like watching it before I knew about this, so that's a good thing.
That's an amazing point, actually, because the first trailer that I saw of Venom 3, I was they're dancing in Vegas, and it looks kind of silly, and I'm I don't know. It just looks like more of kind of the same. And I wonder if that was kind of the critical reception they were hearing pretty consistently, which is why they were we better show that this character might be in here, or nobody's going to come and see this movie. Because you're right, this definitely... it brought it to my attention for a Let's Get Nuts news, at least, right? I wasn't talking about Venom 3 up to this point. Now I'm okay, interesting. Lewis, any thoughts on the Venom trilogy or the inclusion of a Null character in it? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of echo where I wasn't planning on watching this in the theater, but I'm not super familiar with the comics and Null, but with what you've said and what I'm seeing just from this image, I mean, I'd be down to definitely watch the movie. Whether or not it'll be in theater, that's one thing, but with the potential people that he's squared off in his history, I could see the whole multiverse still going. I mean, they had Venom in Nowhere Home, right? Like the post-credit scene with Tom Hardy in there. So they've already kind of introduced him to the MCU. And could this be an introduction for now a potential big Spider-Man 4 villain? If he's with the Silver Surfer, could he be maybe introduced or said something in Fantastic Four? It could be a good setup, but I'd be down to see him in live action for sure.
Yeah, he's scary. He's super scary. So 100%, I echo that. Even if they brought him through, like with an Eternals 2 movie, I don't know if they're ever going to revisit Eternals because of the way that went down, but it doesn't really sound like it at this point. But there were some great comic connections in there as well. And now that Guardians of the Galaxy is essentially done, I don't think we'll see him tied to that as well. So yeah, I think Spider-Man 4 is kind of the way it would need to try and tie it over. But again, it's tying two different universes, so I'd be curious to see how they do that. But I mean, I guess with No Way Home, though, they did bring in characters from the Sony verse into that film as well, right? So it's not like it can't be done. So guys, if you're watching on the replay, or let us know in the chat as you watch here today, are you excited for a potential null inclusion in Venom 3? Are you like us? Does this actually make you want to see the movie more? Or are you like me and feeling like, please don't just skim over such a badass character and just dilute it entirely? I'm hoping for the best, but I'm expecting not the worst, but like a Venom versus Carnage. Honestly, I'm not totally expecting a lot. So low expectations. Hopefully I'll like it. We're going to talk about Beetlejuice later, and I also have some thoughts on that movie. So if you guys are interested, up next, I wanted to bring this up because this is interesting. I've seen a lot of news earlier in the week from some of the first episodes that were shown to reviewers and critics. People saying this is a 10 out of 10. The Penguin is a masterpiece. But then yesterday, I was on Facebook and I saw that IGN has rated this a 5 out of 10 with a very different critical take on the show. Now, I thought the Penguin character was cool in the Matt Reeves Batman movie. I thought they even did a really good job at the end of that film, kind of setting up that his story was going to grow and continue now that he was able to take advantage of all the destruction and chaos from the events of that film. But I will say, like, I didn't know really what to expect out of this film or this show, especially if Batman isn't included. Like, to me, it's like if you're going to have a show about Batman characters, I really do like to see Batman. It was even one of the reasons that while I liked the Gotham television show back in the day, I also had a bit of a problem with it because it was so focused on every other tertiary character and not Batman himself. Still a good show, but lost in the past for me at this point, and I'm worried that it'll be the feeling of this as well. But the other reason I wanted to bring this up was, critic ratings lately seem to really sway audiences. It's interesting to me how, all it takes is some good press, and all of a sudden these movies explode in terms of their box office or viewership on streamers, and all it takes is some negative bashing and some piling on for a show or a movie to go completely the opposite way. And again, no spoilers, but Beetlejuice just did a crazy amount of dollars at the box office. But most of the folks like myself who I've talked to who are like really hardcore 80s Beetlejuice fans didn't totally love it. It's just that it got such good press that people wanted to see it. So for me, I was curious, what do you guys think of just review bombing lately? Review bombing as well as review inflating. And with the differences in these opinions within 1 week, where does this leave you feeling excited-wise for the show itself? Pete, I know you, I think, did enjoy the Batman and the Matt Reeves universe. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the upcoming Penguin? Is this something that you can get excited for?
Yeah, I'll probably give it a go. I think it's coming the end of this week, I think, on UK streaming. I did enjoy the movie, but I can't say that I was particularly blown away with the Penguin character. I think there was some cool scenes with him, and obviously the nightclub thing and everything. But I think if it boils down to just being a kind of run of the mill kind of gangster extortion sort of show, I'm not sure if it's going to hold my interest. And as you say, I'm never really a fan of Batman stuff that doesn't have Batman, and that will, you know, that is the case with the Joker movie, Gotham, stuff like that. I think, you know, initial intrigue is kind of overridden by the fact that you know that you're not actually going to see Batman, and they're not going to interact with that character. Yeah, the difference in ratings just shows that you know, it's probably a bit of a Marmite, it's love it or hate it kind of thing. So yeah, it's unusual to see such a range of reviews, and I normally quite. IGN would be something that I kind of, I mean, it never stops me watching a movie, or, you know, I always judge my own thoughts, but I'll give it a go, but I'm not really expecting to be blown away by it by any means.
That's fair. Nope, very well said. And Philip the Fool says, don't forget, IGN gives She-Hulk a 9.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You can't trust IGN, Ben. It's fake news. Love to see it. IGN gave Wonder Woman 84 an 8 out of 10. But then, I can't remember what other film we were talking about recently or show, but IGN gave it like a really low score as well. And so it's like, usually they're a little
Joker,
on the...
fully
Joker. Yes,
yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And usually IGN, I think, is a little bit like generous with their reviews, which is again kind of reflective in those comments. So to see it getting a 5, I'm like, oh man, what the hell? What happened?
Yeah.
Philly, do you think, like, do reviews sway you? Whether it's kind of review swamping or review inflating, does it matter to you? If you're excited for the franchise, you're just going to go either way. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, if there is a conflict between different, you know, reviews, that tells you something. There's always a hidden agenda. So this, obviously, you can't trust anybody, so you're gonna have to go watch it for yourself. And, you know, me being a big Batman character fan, I love this character. I think he did a great job in the film, and I'm looking to see his continuation of the story. And yeah, I'm gonna see it, of course. But yeah, I mean, this is obviously somebody's not right, and you know. And, you know, I think personally, this shouldn't affect you. I think it should clearly tell you that don't trust reviewers, or, you know, not everybody, because there's always some type of agenda behind doors. So, but yeah, looking forward to this.
Agenda's an interesting take, because I agree with that. It is really hard to trust any social media nowadays. You know, we're just having fun here on Let's Get Nuts, but oftentimes I'm like, we're just having fun, everybody, just in case, right? Because there are still people who will watch YouTube shows or reviews or online pundits who take it very, very literally. And I honestly think TV, movies, even video games are so subjective. It's so much tied into how you feel about that franchise, or what nostalgia you have for those characters, any of those things that can really impact whether something is a 5 or even an 8. But like, they can sway your opinion, and that doesn't mean anybody's right or really wrong. But money does play a big factor in it, Philly, and you're right. There are definitely advantages to overinflating a piece like this. Chris, you are a huge movie lover. One of my favorite shows to watch now is, of course, the Collecting Weekly movie night that you've been putting on. Really good job over there. If anybody's missed the movie night on Collecting Weekly, you gotta check that show out. It's critically underrated at this point, in my opinion. But what are your thoughts on review against swamping or inflation? Do reviews sway you when it comes to the properties that you love?
Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling if you read the IGN review, you're going to find them harping on a lot of things that wouldn't bother us. That's just, I'm just going to put that out there. And if you bother reading it, I think you'll probably agree. You know, this whole idea is showing itself much worse in the video game industry right now. Like, we just had like an unprecedented thing. This game, this looter shooter called Concord launched, $100 million game, 8 years in development, and the player count was so low that they actually refunded every single purchase. It's like, and the IGN gave that a 7, by the way, so it's better than the Penguin. But it was not sustainable to even keep the game running in the first week. 600 people playing it. but yeah, more people will watch this show than played Concord.
Wild.
But
Thank you. I don't have to shut it down yet. Yes.
yeah, well, it didn't take 8 years and $100 million, Ben. That's the point. But for you to make this show. But you know, it's just like IGN, like everybody in the chat saying you can't trust IGN. Right? They're talking about they didn't like the way the Penguin treated his employees or something in the show. It bothered them, so they gave it a 5. But but you know, but this is a weird one for me because it's like this character was like he did a great job in the Matt Reeves movie, but it's like it's such a weird choice to me to like prosthetic the by Jesus out of somebody when you could have just like he's pretty gnarly looking, but you could have just found a guy who looks like that. It's like so weird that it's so weird that it's Colin Farrell to me. Yeah. You know, it's almost like, oh, there's a history in Batman films of putting a lot of prosthetics on character actors, so let's just do that for the sake of it. I don't know, it's an interesting choice, but I'm gonna watch this. I thought he stood out as one of the more interesting parts of that film to me, so I'm excited for it.
I was amazed at how like expressive his face could be under all of the prosthetics. Like I've seen prosthetic jobs before where they kind of have like really like Botox look, you know, like neutral expression in certain areas, and he was able to emote incredibly well. Now I have heard some rumors that he just obviously did not enjoy the makeup process for the show though, and so he is currently considering whether or not that's even something he'd want to continue with, even if the show does well, which would be unfortunate because again, if the show actually does well, of course we're all, as comic book fans and Batman fans, gonna want more, right? So and you can't change his look that dramatically. I mean, I guess you could send him to the gym and give him a hairpiece or something, but you know, slim him down a little bit. Yeah. Hate to see it. But yeah, go Colin Farrell. I mean, wild. But guys, let us know on replay, in the chat, in the comments after the show. Are you excited for Penguin? What are you feeling about the review kind of changes here? Is it a 10 out of 10? Is it a 5? Are you going to be somewhere in between? Are you still going to give it a chance when it comes out? Or will the reviews sway you and you'll decide to not waste your time? Trevor Weed says here, great comment. Reviewers are only helpful if you grasp the entirety of their learnings and feelings and understand how that relates to your own feelings. Totally agree. Again, that goes back to that subjectivity of your take and where that nostalgia comes from and all of the things. So, well said, good sir. Let's move on. And I don't want to take the wind out of our sails here because we're having fun today. We've been lots of laughs already. We got 40 people in the chat. If you don't mind, I always forget to ask, if you don't mind hitting the like button for us, that would definitely be appreciated. It just drives more traffic to the show week over week, month over month, and year over year, hopefully, if I get that $100 million funding, especially. But unfortunately, it's, you know, I think appropriate to report on the fact that James Earl Jones passed away this past week. And, you know, it's an insane legacy to discuss, to be honest. And so I don't want to go too far into it because I read through his life and all the awards he won and all of the like content that he was a part of. It's insane. He was in his early 90s, so he lived a very, very long life. I feel like, honestly, he won, you know, at life. He's so iconic. He went out on the top of his game, and he'll be remembered forever for all of the different roles and the ways that he kind of touched all of our lives. For me, a big one was, you know, when I think of his face, I think of his appearance in Conan. Him with the long hair that you see in that one picture there, hilarious. Yeah. The voice of Mufasa as a kid, I mean, like, I don't want to even necessarily see that new Mufasa movie that's coming because it doesn't have his voice in it. Like, to me, Mufasa is James Earl Jones' voice. And then, of course, Darth Vader and so many other films. Even Field of Dreams. I loved Field of Dreams when I was younger. And, like, when I think back to it, it's a bit of an older... Like, it's an older movie, but it's like, it's, I don't know, it's kind of dark. It's a little depressing. It's definitely a sad movie. I don't know why, as a younger person, I liked it so much, but he really connected to me in that film as well, with Kevin Costner, of course. So those, I think, are the biggest impacts that he had on me, but I was curious for you guys, I think with the exception of what the obvious is Darth Vader, like, what do you think of when you think of James Earl Jones? Chris, I'll start with you, good sir.
Well, if you're trying to exclude Darth Vader, you're starting with the wrong guy. But I think looking back, the weird thing with all this for me is like, I personally, like, if you look at him up on IMDb, he's been in a lot, but like, it's the same 2 or 3 things that stick out to me as the rest of you guys, I'm sure. But to me, I just can't help but wonder, like, you go back and you change one casting decision in the original Star Wars, and like, do we even live in the same world anymore? Like how much would it take for it not to be a hit, right? Like if James Earl Jones wasn't in there and it's just like it was just Steve voicing Darth Vader, like do we care about this movie after 45 years? I don't know, man. There's so many bumps along that way that could have changed that, right? And it's like,
True.
Guys like David Prowse tried to get himself fired and they didn't get rid of him. But it's just weird how things work out, because he did 2 hours of work for the original Star Wars. He probably did 3 or 4 hours of work for the whole original trilogy if you actually count his raw tapes. You know what I mean? Like, Vader doesn't have a ton of lines, but that is some of the most iconic stuff that exists in our pop culture landscape. And it was done in a few hours because that's just happened to be how he sounded. And he was just born that way. I don't know, man. It's sad, but he lived to 93. None of us are going to probably be that lucky. So 93 is pretty old, man. He lived a great life. And for me, it's just like imagining all the weird world we would live in if he didn't exist. And I'm glad that he did.
Very true. Well said, good sir. And it's just you posing it that way. I mean, I literally can see like a whole film based on that, of like an alternate reality where James Earl Jones isn't the voice of Vader, and what happens to Star Wars as a result, or maybe nothing. Like, it's hard to know, but like that's a crazy concept actually to explore. Yeah, crazy concept to explore. Blur Dad Life says, one of our good channel members says, enjoying the stream while unboxing my new TVA Loki. This is a great Sunday. I love that figure, dude. That is easily one of my favorite figures. In fact, I'm actually selling my Endgame Loki. So if anybody wants a signed Ben Thomas Show Loki, I'd be happy to sign the box for you, because I am moving that figure on because I love my TVA Loki that much, honestly. So no, that's a great pickup, dude. Philly, I'll be curious from you. In terms of James Earl Jones here, what really stood out to you in your life with regards to this person, this huge presence in the world? But also, like, do you feel like Chris, like, was he so iconic that you couldn't take him out of certain roles now in the past without changing kind of the history of the world? What are your thoughts?
Well, how there's always TV dads. He was kind of also a cinema dad for me, because my dad wasn't part of my life most of my life, so he had that presence, and he kept consistency with it, with Darth Vader, with King Joffrey from Coming to America, which happens to be one of my favorite movies, and then not to mention Lion King. Yeah, and it's, the man has many talents, and it definitely shows. And one thing that my buddy Lael at 16 Man mentioned is, not a lot of people knew, but he used to have a stutter, and it kind of gives you a story of his lifetime, because we're just talking about a few years of his whole life, and he's achieved all this. So he had a life before that. He was involved with a lot of things, but him having a stutter, and then coming to this situation where every role he brings, confidence, strength, and just this just presence that it just keeps you in awe, and it's definitely tells you what kind of human being he was. And you're right, you're absolutely definitely right about one thing, is he did win in life. So he did have a wonderful life, and may he rest in peace. So
well said, buddy. Well said. Pete, same questions for you, good sir. What are your thoughts here on this sad news, honestly? Oh, sorry, buddy. 1 sec. I muted you there.
That's okay. Yeah, it is really sad. And I think, we see, obviously, at the age, I'm 50 next year. So a lot of the icons that I grew up with, they are starting to pass. And, some of them, they don't resonate. But this one really did, and I was genuinely sad. Not because he went early or anything. He had a great life. He definitely won. You know, but he just shaped my very being. I think in the fact that, in essence, he is Darth Vader. I mean, he never wore the suit. Well, I don't know if he did for fun, but he never portrayed him on screen, but he epitomized what Vader was. So, in my view, Vader died that day, because he was 95% of what we consider Vader to be. And I sort of, when I was looking, I was sort of really struggling to see what else he'd been in, and Conan the Barbarian. He is such a sick fuck in that movie. Crazy looking as well. But and obviously Lion King, one of the greatest animated movies of all time. So I think he had a truly incredible voice, a unique voice. Chris, do you think that this will stop Disney making any more shit with Vader in, or will they not care a jot? Will they AI his voice?
I don't even think they have to AI his voice necessarily, because I did read or hear that, and I can't confirm it 100%, but that he essentially did like a verbal library of his voice,
Right.
like pre-recorded himself,
Yeah.
like basically reading the alphabet sort of thing, so that
Okay.
they could use the voice for future as well. Would that be off-putting? Would it be disrespectful? I don't think so, because it seems like that's kind of what he was in for.
Yeah.
That he knew that that's what they'd want to do, and
He could live
it
forever.
seemed like he was okay with that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
whereas for me, it always felt a little off-putting seeing like Carrie Fisher, for example, reimagined, or like some of the other characters out there that have been brought back to life using that technology.
Yeah.
It's hard to know how they would have felt about it. At least we know James literally made the attempt, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
hard to say.
But yeah.
For sure. Luis, what about you, good sir? In terms of James Earl Jones here, did you have anything that really like impactful for you as a kid, or even in your adult life, in terms of memories? And did this passing hit you the same way as others? And the reason I ask you that, and it's a bit of a morbid question, but the reason I'm positioning it that way is when I think of passings like Robin Williams, for example, or so many, Carrie Fisher, people who are still, I want to say, like in that mid to late, later age, but not necessarily in their 90s yet. Those passings really hit me differently. Whereas with James Earl Jones, as iconic as he is and was, it was also almost like expected. Like he was getting to the end of his lifespan, just in general. How did this hit you? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this one hit me pretty hard. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, of course, if you couldn't tell, and I was actually just kind of talking to my wife about James Earl Jones because I went to D23 last month and they had a small segment on the new Mufasa, and I'm like, would be amazing if he came out, just kind of a last send-off type celebration of the guy who voiced him, and he didn't come out, and granted, he's very old, and it's understandable, and John Williams didn't come out, and they're both in their 90s, but to know that the voice of Vader, Mufasa, King Joffrey, amongst his other credits, that he's gone, it's sad, and I know Disney will continue to use his voice. It's just a matter of where, and I'm sure it'll be that much more memorable for them when they do it. But just knowing that we'll never get to hear that voice in any other kind of live action or any other media that was voluntary, I think is what kind of hit me hard. But it's understandable. The guy's in his 90s, and people can only hope to make it to that age or even close to it. So the fact that he found success so kind of early on with a voice, considering he had that stutter, I mean, it just goes to show you that anything's possible, right? And you can make it big with something that you didn't really plan on to. So he's definitely a legendary actor, and I don't think Vader would be Vader without the voice. I mean, you see many portrayals of Darth Vader, and it's really James Earl Jones and Hayden that get the credit for it. Dave Prowse being the body and Sebastian being the face. And then I saw that similar picture where it's like we lost the face of Vader, the voice of Vader, and the body of Vader. And you kind of think of it that way, and it's it's just like it's a big shock, despite knowing he's older, and it's just a matter of time where we see, and I'm not even going to say it, but other cast members and iconic characters of Star Wars pass just because of age. This one was hard. So much so, I'm looking to possibly get a autograph plaque. Master Replicas did some Vader helmet plaques and a lightsaber plaque, so I'm trying to hunt one of those down. But you can only imagine the people trying to flip those now. So we'll see.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's like when Heath Ledger passed away. Everything that had Heath Ledger on it just skyrocketed, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Let us know, guys, in the comments, what was your favorite James Earl Jones moment? Maybe it is just Vader, and that's okay, but what was one role of his that stood out, or one thing that you saw him in? Maybe it wasn't even a role. Maybe it was just him interacting with people as his real person. Because I think sometimes we forget that as iconic of actors as these folks are, they are still people too, with families and loved ones. And he went to the grocery store still every day too. How many people have interacted with him outside of his iconic film roles over 93 years? It's wild. Let us know what you guys think. I do want to give one honorable mention here as well to Peter Renaday, the voice of Master Splinter, most specifically from the late 80s cartoon, early 90s cartoon, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. As a kid, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was easily one of my favorite shows, that being up there with Batman the Animated Series and Spider-Man and Gargoyles and all of those, but I was a huge TMNT fan, and I shared my rings with you guys not that long ago that I got from my mom at Christmas, the old Ninja Turtle rings from the Shreddies boxes, right? And Peter passed away during the same week as James Earl Jones, and so I think his passing was a little bit overshadowed by such an icon passing away. But in my opinion, while Peter is not a recognizable face, I could easily walk past him in the street and never know who he was. His voice will go down in history for me and is a huge part of my nostalgic childhood. So unfortunately, we lost this person as well same week, and certainly an honorable mention and shout out to him. Rest in peace. Good sir. Thank you for all of the memories from being a kid. But guys, let's move back to a little bit more fun and excitement again, because I don't want to bring the mood down either necessarily. Pete, you shared these photos with us today in our chat. We're looking at the in-art Aragorn figure, and you finally got it in hand. And I was curious, there's been lots of I want to say influencers getting these in hand. And I know people sometimes say, well, is your opinion only based on the fact that you're an influencer, you got it early, or is that your real opinion? Do you actually like it as much as you state? I think for the most part, it's been critically very well received. Yeah. But I wouldn't call you an influencer per se, even though you influence me on this show sometimes to do naughty things. What are your thoughts on Aragorn here from InArt?
Just a word, amazing. I think that as far as I can see, I think sort of Pennywise went a bit under the radar for because not that many people sort of picked him up and everything. But obviously, the Joker got a lot of coverage at the time. Gandalf did. I think this one, and let's get the elephant in the room out of the way, about the Ranger cloak. That this didn't come with, and was an exclusive if you bought directly from the InArt store. So obviously, they didn't have a license for certain markets. So I'm not bothered. I was never going to display with that. I know a lot of people are arguing that the price they paid, they should get it, but it doesn't bother me. The whole this is my first InArt. I did have the Gandalf, but I moved it on without even opening it because I sort of wild. Yeah, I decided that I didn't need him, and I managed to trade it for a Back to the Future 2 DeLorean. So I think I won. But I was adamant.
That's a big trade, actually.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. I was. adamant that I wasn't going to open it because I didn't want to kind of then be like, yeah, it's too good to get rid of. It was too good an offer. So this one was my first in our unboxing experience, and yeah, pretty cool. I mean, it's everything's very nicely packaged. Everything's wrapped individually, so it's quite a nice experience opening it all up. First off, I think the head sculpt is phenomenal. I think there was a lot of concerns early on that it wasn't up to the protos. I mean, make your own judgments, but I think it's incredible. The face is spot on. The paintwork, the eyes, the movable eyes, the hair. I think if you flicked between one, there's one where he's got curlier hair, which is where he first. Yeah, so the one on the left there is how he came out of the box, and I just felt it looks good, but it looked a little bit too sort of D'Artagnan, Three Musketeers to me.
Sure.
So I took the quite scary plunge. I'd seen another guy do it on the forums, so I basically shampooed and washed his hair and got as much of the product out as I could, and then he ended up with this like massive, like crazy, and you sort of think, shit, what have I done? Have I ruined this figure forever? Yeah. So in the end, I basically just wet the hair, kind of got it into the shape I wanted, and then all I did was just kind of because I knew that once I'd got it, I wanted it fixed. I just got some matte acrylic paint, clear acrylic, and just kind of brushed that on gently, and it's held it all in place. I did cut a couple of hairs shorter at the front so they could fall into his face, and so I think that. To me, I think that made a big difference. Just sorting that hair out. The hair, as with all of these things, and I'm sure it was the same with Gandalf, and he had the beard as well. That there was such a range of how it came out of the packaging. Some looked fantastic. They're all a little bit curly, I think, but. Yeah, no, it's great. I was also a bit worried as well because during the washing of his hair, one of his eyes popped out, and luckily I didn't lose it down the sink. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was really quite troubling. So
out the front? Out the front?
No,
Come out
the back, and I just kind of spotted it and grabbed it.
Oh my god!
And I was like, okay, I've got it. How do I get it back in? And luckily, a pair of tweezers, put it up in there, and it does kind of click in. So that was a bit nerve-wracking. But I've always kind of I'm always keen to kind of get these guys, see how they work and do some upgrades. I need to do some weathering and stuff because he's very clean. But no, I mean, it might be a bit of an exaggeration to say, but I think he's my favorite figure in my collection now.
Damn.
But it's not, perfect is a very strong word, but I can't fault it. The outfit, the likeness, all the gear. It could have come with other things. It could have not. There's a lot of arguments. Is it leather? Is it not? But I just think it's stunning. It's the closest I've ever come to having a miniature human being in my collection. I'm absolutely blown away by it, and I'm really excited for like everybody else that's. I was lucky. I did order, I think, within the first hour when he dropped on 1/6 kit. So I was in his first batch. Excited for everyone to get him in hand. I know that it could be a while for some, but hang in there. And obviously, I just picked up a Mr. Z horse to be Brigo, so I will probably display him mounted on the horse, as you see there. That's literally just got him out of the box without putting any of his stuff on and just stuck him on there just to see, and he just sits really nicely on that horse. The body seems to pose really well. So ultimately, that will be how he'll be displayed up there. But I want to do a little bit of weathering just on the coat and stuff, just to he's a little bit clean.
The scale looks great too with the horse. It's
yeah.
perfect scale.
Yeah, the Mr. Z horses are really good. So I thought, you know what, that's how I kind of want to see how I want to have him displayed. So I've had the horse for ages, and I've been waiting and waiting for Aragorn. So it's nice to finally pair them up. But yeah, what do you guys think of the head sculpts and stuff?
I mean, I had honestly initially felt like there was a downgrade. I will be honest. But then seeing your hand photos, I think like the likeness to Vigo is really there. He's got a very unique face, so I think it's been traditionally very hard for him to be just captured in general, right? And I think these always shine more in hand, even than they do in photos. Like as good as these photos even are, I'm sure when you're holding it, looking at it right in the face, that's when it really truly comes to life, because you can even see kind of that that gleam behind his eyes and everything, right? Assuming you don't lose one down the sink, of course.
Yeah, exactly. And the eyes are really good, because I think for being that they're obviously movable eyes, I think that the technology of those has come on not just for in art, but Hot Toys as well, that they don't suffer from that weirdness that they used to have. They just look spot on, and
Yeah, man. Well, and for how many figures you have literally sitting behind you, like we started the show with, like that's high praise. If you're feeling like that is one of the best, if not the best.
Yeah,
in the
absolutely.
collection. That's really high praise.
Yeah.
Sorry, Pete. Really quick. What were you trying to do with the hair again? You're trying to get it more straight or more?
Yeah. So I didn't like the curliness too much. I wanted it to be a bit kind of that, just sort of that dirty, sweaty kind of, sort of slightly wet look that he normally has. So basically,
Bob Dylan is notorious for this, but he just recommended this, and it works wonders. I've been using it.
One sec.
Suavecito pomade.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
Wow.
You can get it on Amazon. And it smells pleasantly. It doesn't. It's not over, empowering. And right now, I'm working on a Vicky Vale custom from Batman '89, and I use that for her hair, and the hair looks amazing. So if you ever want to use that, definitely recommend this. Bob Dylan kind of recommended it to me.
Yeah, so I just wanted something that was a little bit less sort of salon style, and it was a little bit scary. And I've done a lot of customizing to figures, but this is possibly the most expensive. And obviously, the head sculpt is the big ticket with this. And I was a bit worried, but I thought, no, I'll persevere. I'm happy with the results.
Do you regret moving Gandalf on now that you love this one as much as you do?
No, I don't, because I don't, as good as the Gandalf was, I don't think the likeness to Ian McKellen's as strong as this was to Vigo. So I'm not too bothered about passing him on, and this will very much stand on its own. And I think that's why I went with the horse, because it kind of makes it a centerpiece on its own, and he'll probably just have his own little place on the shelf, not in with the main figures or anything. Absolutely
cool, man.
Amazing figure. Yeah, so I think possibly in art, I would say they're probably not having had any other figures. They seem to have hit the spot with this one, I think.
Yeah,
it looks solid.
Yeah, I just want to bring one thing up here. I see a little bit of stuff going on in the chat where X-Man Supreme says, "Has his face always been so large?" And then Figurecraft says it might be the lens. Yeah, I think you guys need to understand that Pete is not doing the figure any favors the way he's shot it here, and that's a good thing. He's but I mean, he's got the light directly. It's evenly lit, and he's got sort of a wider lens close to the figure. If there's imperfections here, you're gonna see them. This is a critical look. If you wanted to make this figure look dramatic and really good, you could do that, but he's just like, this is what I bought up close. And if you do have a wider lens close to the face, it's going to make the head look bigger than it actually is in proportion to everything else. So but which is like, it's a credit to this figure that Pete could shoot it like this and it still looks pretty good. Like that's it's just like, this is an inspection photo basically.
It's a forensic examination.
Very true. Yeah, I was like this. Decent, buddy. Decent.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Pete. That's awesome, and great thoughts there, Chris. As well.
And just quick, I had a great double dip there because I did get the the Return of the Jedi Vader as well.
Yes, I
strangely,
didn't have a chance to add that one.
no,
in.
no, that's fine. But strangely, the day after James Earl Jones passed, so it felt like it was meant to be
right.
kind of thing. So, but that's another.
sure.
That's a great figure as well.
I actually had. It's funny you say that too because I was going to post a Darth Vader short the day that he passed away, and I decided not to because I was like critically like I don't know if that'll come off in poor taste. Even though I had it already lined up, it was pre-recorded. I just had to hit the submit button, but I was like, I'm gonna wait because
I had
some time.
I had a friend also that got the Thulsa Doom smaller action figure the day of. It was
Yeah.
Wild. Thanks for sharing that, buddy, and I'm glad you're happy with.
Oh, no
both of
worries.
those, of course.
Yeah.
Little quick piece of news here as well. 1/6 Kit last week showed some mouth plates for the Batman 89 2.0 coming soon. These are, of course, unpainted as of right now. I've got that figure in hand. I honestly think that the bloodied mouth plate, the battle damaged one, is by far the best likeness to Keaton for sure. That's the one that's going to be just in my display consistently as of right now. However, I would say that this, if the price is right and the paint looks good, I would definitely consider bringing these into the collection as something to swap out as well. Philly, I see that you've got Batman there as well. Is this something that you would lock in a pre-order on if the price is right to swap in and out for your figure?
Yeah, I mean, there's options, and yeah, it was a bit of a letdown with the mouth plates, but you're right too. I'm also with the bloody plate, which looks amazing, so I definitely feel you there. But yeah, I mean, I know, I believe, I can't remember the name of the customizer. Really good guy. Unreal Toys did a full Batman cowl with the face, and this is also just as great, because it's less expensive and you get to use your current cowl, so that's an option as well. So I may be considering this. Yeah, it's always good to have options. You're mute, Ben.
Oh, thanks. I just said, it's hard to know how quickly the turnaround would be. I think that's the only thing, right? If this is just in this stage at this point, but I'm sure the cost would be a reasonable price point. Does anybody else on the panel have the Batman 2.0 on the way or coming in? No, just me and Philly. So for me, I still did think it was pretty good, but I also didn't have the DX09 to directly compare it to. And when I did see some of those direct comparisons, I was like, honestly, I do still think there was more Michael Keaton in the previous version, which is shitty. But without the direct comparison, I do still like it a lot.
Yeah,
so.
It's really weird. I find it quite bizarre that what are we, at least 10 years on from the DX09, that actually there's so many bits of it that people are saying. I know Shane said that he might end up with getting a DX09, and I think that possibly an amalgamation of the two is the sweet spot, because the texture on the suit, and I don't really understand. I mean, you probably look at the sculpts, the face sculpts next to each other, and the paintwork's probably better and more realistic looking on the new ones, but to downgrade the likeness, you just think, well, I'd rather have had the original ones and just just paint them a bit better. So it's a bit disappointing, because I know people have waited for this so long, and for it to be a bit like, oh, okay, it's quite disappointing, I think, for fans.
To piggyback off of Pete, you're absolutely right. Like it's starting to become more common where we get a figure and we have to, in order to get the essential and get it right, we always have to go outside sourcing. I mean, it's a good thing to support these artists that do a wonderful job, like Jackson Ju and Unreal Toys. But it's like we're paying top dollar for these figures. Come on, Hot Toys, get it right. You had it right before, so if you're not going to get it right again, that's just, there's no excuse. So
it is crazy.
More common.
It's crazy how much of a secondary market Hot Toys creates for itself, just because they're not willing to go that extra, just quarter mile to just nail it. You know what I mean? And because you're 100% right. I got the figure in as it was the shipping notification from DHL. I went and bought a Jackson Ju cape before I even got the figure in hand, because I was just already pre-anticipating that I wasn't going to like the cape enough. And sure enough, I think it is better than the DX09, that side of it, but it's still not it doesn't drape the way that I would have really liked to see.
No, and you're adding
DX09, Pete. What's that, sorry?
Yeah, go on. No, I was just saying, and that adds another $70-$80 to the price.
Yeah.
Yeah, with my Canadian conversion and the shipping, I
Yeah.
think it's like 130 or something
Yeah.
wild. So
Yeah.
like, it definitely added to it. The
Yeah.
only thing that I think that they definitely had to change on that DX09 was that plate in the back of the cowl, from where you could like move the eyes in the backside there. That was a really ugly like square box basically on that cowl that looked bad from photos.
Yeah.
But I mean, very rarely do I have my figures facing backwards in the collection either. So I still think it's unfortunately the superior
I think
figure.
they got the cowl better. I think the cowl does look improved. But yeah, the other bits are a bit odd,
Well, and the texture, Pete, I will say just to that point as well. In person, under the light box lighting, up close with my phone and my camera and all that, it's ugly texturing. But once it's like in my display and I'm looking at the figure from my kind of normal 2 to 3 feet away, honestly, I can't see it really at all. It disappears pretty dramatically.
But where did it come from? Where did they get the idea to do that?
I have no idea.
Bizarre.
I have no idea. It's super weird. It almost looks like he's covered in a symbiote as opposed to like an actual Batman.
Yeah,
fit,
and,
right?
and it just
So,
makes you think that they
it's
got
wild.
everything so right with the first one.
Literally.
But yeah.
Literally. Guys, let's move on, but let us know in the chat if this is something you guys are going to pick up from 1/6 Kit or Jackson Jew there once these mouth plates come through. I like Jackson Jew capes. I put that on my DX12 years ago now, a custom cape from him. And honestly, it like night and day changed what that figure looked like for me. It was amazing in comparison. So I'm very excited to get the new one for the Batman 89. But this was some really exciting news for us this week. And I have a bit of a different way to pose this question because I think the majority of us like Terminator. I think most of us probably love Terminator. We all grew up with Terminator up to a certain extent. And I will say that Hot Toys DX13, the battle damage version of the T800, still, in my opinion, holds up as one of the best figures Hot Toys has ever made. Ever. And now we got this one that comes with genuine leather outfits and straps. He's got the battle damaged look for both head sculpts. It's an improved likeness to Schwarzenegger, in my opinion, even though I think the sculpts are similar. Definitely some similarity there, especially. These photos here that are side by side, they actually had improved that likeness on the right picture there for both, even over these photos from production to final. So these were actually kind of pre-final photos, but even still, you can have an idea here of what it looked like in comparison to the new version. And honestly, it still definitely holds up. You know who it is in there. And I, again, argue that the DX13 is still easily one of the best figures of all time. So my question for you guys in terms of the panel is this or that. If you already have the DX13, do we need to buy this new version? Or can you skip it? From my perspective, I don't have the DX13, so I'm 100% going to get this because I still have the clean. I think it wasn't a DX version. I think it was the MMS 117, if I'm not mistaken, which
The
is the
10 was
T800
also
clean. The clean, yeah. I have the clean one. I think having a battle damage next to him would be a freaking awesome display. I absolutely love that he comes with his, like that cage from the end of the film where he's getting lowered into the vat of magma or liquid metal. Right? I think that's so cool. For me, I don't day one pre-order many things because I like to wait off a little bit, but this was one I just locked with the pre-order. I'm just gonna start paying it off early, so it just eventually just comes, right? So, but this or that, if you have DX13, do you need this new version? Luis, we haven't heard from you in a little bit, buddy. What are your thoughts on Terminator as even a franchise? Do you need both figures? Do you have this? Do you have that? What are you gonna go with? What are your thoughts?
Yes to everything. I love Terminator. T2 is my jam. Huge Arnold fan. I have both Enter Bay, the quarter scale figures. I had the quarter scale Endo. I sold that. I have the DX10, 13. So yes, I plan on getting this. Having the 13, I'm actually looking at it just from those pictures. I don't know if the chrome looks a little more chrome on the 13.
It does, eh? A little bit.
Yeah. So, leave it to Hot Toys to give us one thing better on the newest release and then something else on the first release, just like
That's a good
Batman.
observation.
the DX13 had the T1000 melting, like chrome punching statue piece as an accessory. This does not. And if you got the exclusive, you got the T1000 head sculpt in all chrome too. So that's where that accessory you won't get with this, but this you get the diorama base and the real
Great
leather plus a
differentiator.
grenade launcher. So I mean, this to me at least warrants buying this. Because you get 2 head sculpts, that's even more of a reason to have 2 of these. I bought myself a second body, so now I'll have technically 3 in buying this. But the DX13 wasn't real leather like the DX10 was, so it was just a matter of time before that piece starts breaking down, and now I'll have a spare backup having real leather. So that's kind of how I see it, and it just kind of comes back to my concept of, if I love a character so much, I want the best version of that character in figure form, and if that takes me kit bashing multiple figure releases to do so, then so be it. So this is an easy order for me, despite having 2 DX13s essentially. What's another? Just give me another T1000.
For sure. For sure. Well said, dude. Absolutely well said. I'd be curious, Pete, because you've been in the collecting game for a pretty long time. And, you know, Luis highlighted the genuine leather, so did I, as kind of an excitement aspect of the figure.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on the figure overall? And do you feel that, like, the real genuine leather is actually overrated when it comes to this because of posability potential?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I think it's a great figure, a great set. I think not a bad price. I think ordering it in the UK is about £300, which, you know, when you consider you're getting 2 head sculpts, you're getting 2 jackets and everything. I think in a way this is almost should have been a DX and should have come with 2 bodies, you know, because you're so close to getting 2 figures out of it that they probably should have gone the whole way with that. I think the likeness is better, but I almost feel, I'm not so sure, like if this picture here, so the one on the far right I don't like so much, but I think the one on the second one in, I think that's the best, because I almost feel like this new sculpt looks a little bit old for him there, because he was probably only 30, maybe 40, 35 to 40 when he filmed this, and I feel that the likeness is better, but he looks a bit too old. Whereas I like the 13, particularly that first one there, captured that kind of younger look of him. So again, I think if you've got the 13, I don't think you don't get rid of it. It's a great companion piece. You can build 2 really fantastic figures from it if you're using the 2 new head sculpts or one of the old ones. So I think I've always been more of a fan of the Terminator than Terminator 2. I suppose because of my age and what I grew up with, and watching it way too young, because I think I was only 9 when it came out. The joy of having older cousins that could get you all these movies that you weren't allowed to watch and stuff. So that was cool. So for me, that's the iconic look for the Terminator. That's the one that I will, you know, would rather have in my collection. I think I haven't had many issues with pleather, but I know that these are some of the particularly seem to have suffered badly. Some of the jackets I've seen some really bad where they're just falling apart. The trousers as well. So I think it's a good step forward. People are worried about posability, but I mean you can get some really thin leather. So as long as they do it right. You know, and then at the end of the day, you don't need to pose this guy particularly dynamically. You know, we've got a lot of the poses there. He's going to be standing there with a gun in one hand, either pointing up or pointing down. He's not doing, you know, bullet time and stuff like that. So I think I was tempted because I just think it's a great set and for the price, but I'm sticking with. I've owned several. So I had the police shootout once. I had the Tech Noir, sold them on, but I'm waiting for the Present Toys T1, and I've got the proper Hot Toys head to put on it if their ones don't turn out to be good enough. But if you like this film, I don't know how you could resist not pre-ordering, because it does look fantastic.
Honestly, since I've been collecting, so like I've been collecting for 14 years now, but I missed the Terminator line when I first started. I just got started too late.
Yeah.
For as long as I can remember collecting, people have been saying they want another Terminator to come back. They want Alien to come back. They want some Predators to come back, right? Like, so this is just the beginning, and we did see Hot Toys tease quite a few of these figures only about a month ago. Who so far, quite a few of them have come to fruition, which is interesting to see. You know what? It really bugs me now, Luis, that endoskeleton is not as chrome as the other one. I'm like, man, it's really matte. It is really matte in these photos.
What they want, man.
Now, Philia, what do you think here, buddy? I could totally see a world in which this is actually not the only Terminator that we do get. I wouldn't be surprised if Hot Toys dives deep back into the well. What I would love to see is a T800 on a motorcycle as well. I think that could be one hell of a DX display in the setup as well. But of course, since this one is the current availability, what are your thoughts on this figure, and what are you hoping they might make from the line as well?
Well, in regards to your motorcycle, I mean, the DX10 is the figure to go pair it up with, because in the movie, that's how he was. He was clean. So the DX10 2.0 would be awesome with the motorcycle. And then not only that, but hell, while you're at it, give us an endoskeleton diecast. Let's just go all the way.
Yes.
But in regards to this one, I've always been wanting to, because you have two sculpts in one body, I've always wanted to display both sculpts, because there's a transition in the movie how he's clean, semi, damage, full damage, and then really, really damage, and then there's also the endoskeleton. So this is good, because I can, I already have the DX13, I can get this one too, and I can display both refined head sculpts with two different bodies. And I'll leave, for some reason, my DX13, the pleather is fine. And in fact, all this time, I thought it was actually genuine leather, because I also have the DX10, and that's genuine leather. But then recently I found out that the DX13 was not. I'm like, oh, okay, it's still in good shape. So, but yeah, I mean, definitely getting this. And let me ask you a question really quick to you guys. I think it's retail at $350 at Sideshow, but do you think that's US dollars? You think that's a good deal? I mean, personally, to me, I think that's a pretty good deal for what you're getting. I think people were.
I do.
Based on what, it was a little too pricey.
No, I think based on what we pay for these days, to get two head sculpts with light up feature,
diorama base,
and the diorama base. No, I think it's a relative bargain in this crazy world we're in at the moment.
I think the original was over $300 or really close to that. So the fact you're getting genuine leather plus the light up diorama, it's the same thing essentially, minus the T1000 accessory piece. It's completely fine. I heard the Terminator license expires after this year,
right?
So I know there's some companies that are wanting to take advantage of that for next year. So maybe this is Hot Toys' last kind of hurrah at trying to get these figures out.
You're on mute, Ben.
Sorry, I was going to say, I can see that I was clicking around trying to find this. It doesn't look as chromy in the film, but it is hard to say, because it's also a really dark scene. Yeah, so I'm like, is it not? Like, maybe not. It's passable. To answer your
I'm going to go get mine.
To answer your price question, though, I actually think the price is extremely reasonable, especially when we just saw this Beetlejuice figure come in at, what was it, like, what's the Beetlejuice?
280?
No, 280 was the Sideshow price. I think it was 330 or 340 or something like that for the Hot Toys Beetlejuice. And this is coming in at 350. I think this is a wildly good price. Or that one is a wildly overpriced figure. Like, I guess it just depends on your perspective. But, 100%. 100%.
Here, can you see that?
1 sec there, I'll pull you up.
In regards to the chrome and the battle damage, my buddy Dan, 6 Scale Reviews, he was brave enough to kind of give it a little more wetness or maybe a little more blood. If you're ever interested in doing the customization, that's a good idea that I never thought about it. And he tackled that, and it looks great. So that's another thing to think about.
Yeah, for sure. Chris, I think you're the only one that's left here, sir. What are your thoughts? I know, again, huge movie guy yourself. Is this something that Hot Toys has convinced you to consider putting in your collection there?
Yeah, well, this is funny. Just a couple nights ago, I was talking on stream about His Holiness Jimmy C with Zach from Collecting Weekly, and like as far as I'm concerned, I sort of look at Terminator 1 and 2 as like they're sort of like one. They're inseparable, really. They're a statement from James Cameron to the world, as far as I'm concerned. As they don't really work independently, if you ask me, and they're sort of like meant to be together, and you can't separate them. And what's beautiful about this is like you just showed that screenshot from the movie, like. And because it was 1990 when they filmed that, James Cameron, it wasn't until Terminator 3 where they could actually paint some green on Arnold's face and actually show a recessed endoskeleton with a half of his face ripped off. This is a additive prosthetic that his face is sticking out farther than it actually would. So when you see this Hot Toys, you're seeing it how James Cameron would have loved to make Arnold look in the movie, but it was physically impossible to cut away part of his face and recess that endoskeleton head under there. So it's almost like you're seeing it almost better than it ever actually looked by getting this Hot Toys. And
Nice shot.
That's cool. Yeah, man. I mean, obviously the movie's great, but you can tell that it's sticking out from his face rather than being recessed, because this was not a digital effect in 1991. It did have CGI, but it was just for the T1000. But yeah, man, I think it's a beautiful thing, and Terminator is one of the finest cinematic achievements of Western civilization. So this is very tempting. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like you can. It's like Star Wars. The new terrible movies don't ruin the first two.
Yeah, true. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think my only last and maybe kind of silly complaint about this in particular is that the light in his eye is still battery and the base is LED USB. I think if you're going to go through the technology of like having, and just the pain in the assery in your display of having to run a cord for the display base, I wish they would be able to find a way to have these figures light up internally whenever they're on their base that's electrified. Because I'll never put the button cell battery in this sculpt, and like maybe for a photo, that's pretty much it. Otherwise we'll just Photoshop it as content creators, because like it's easier than getting freaking batteries in, right? But I think that's a miss. Honestly, I think that's a huge miss that technology hasn't come to figures yet. It doesn't make sense to me, but otherwise, I mean, I'm happy that they're at least moving towards the USB thing overall. So let us know, guys, in the comments. Are you picking up a DX, whatever number this is now? I don't even know. It's like 600 and something, I think, at this point.
40 something. Yeah, 40.
I guess DX is not. Yeah. High DX number, anyways. But are you picking up this Terminator? If you have the DX13, is it this? Is it that? Is it both? Let us know in the comments. I want to move on, guys, because we have a couple more figure news things to talk about before the show wrap today. We still have 33 people watching. I know today is football back for a lot of folks, so a lot of folks I'm sure will watch on replay, but the 35 people watching now, if you don't mind hitting the like button if you haven't already, I really appreciate that, guys. Obi-Wan Kenobi has been released with a newly refined head sculpt. Now, this is getting to be older news already. I did want to do a really quick just round table, though. Pete, are you happy with this upgraded sculpt from what we saw with the original? Did this make you want to put an Obi-Wan in your display? Or for you, what is your definitive Obi-Wan display figure?
I think that they've improved the hair, absolutely, but I'm still not a fan. I still don't think that Hot Toys have ever nailed Ewan McGregor's likeness. I mean, for me, if I only had one Kenobi, it would be Alec Guinness from A New Hope, which I do have. But I've kind of I do have the Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith one, but with a custom Inigo Gil head sculpt, and I also turned my Sideshow Mythos Obi-Wan into a Kenobi version with a custom sculpt. I like everything else about it. I think the costume and everything is good, but I just think that even with those, the recent couple of Obi-Wans that have come out, I just don't feel like they've captured his likeness. So yes, the hair's better. It looks the one with the hood up looks pretty good, but it's really difficult to get a good look with the hood, and then you worry about whether it's going to stay in the face and stuff like that. So
True.
it's definite improvement, but certainly not enough for me to go. Yeah, I need this guy in my collection.
It was a wild improvement for me, Pete. It was one of those, like, it took it from a figure that I was not interested in at all to one that was like, oh, okay, that looks pretty good. If I saw that at like my local comic store and it just hit me like would hit on the right day, or I had a little extra spare change, like maybe, because I currently don't have an Obi-Wan Kenobi in my collection. Although Alec Guinness version is still, like, to me, my definitive Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
As much as I love Ewan
Absolutely.
McGregor, I thought he did a great job. That would be the one that I truly want to go next to my Farm Boy Luke in that lineup, right? So, but I do think this is a massive improvement. Philly, you see on every single Hot Toys post the fix black suit Spider-Man post from the boys there, and we've been getting lots of upgrades in terms of newly refined sculpts from characters we didn't even ask for. I think this one we did kind of ask for, because a lot of people were like, he looks like he's been stung by a bee, or he's having some kind of weird allergic reaction. Like, what the hell happened? That's not what Ewan looks like. I think this is better, but what are your thoughts on this figure, and what do you think the chances are that those boys are going to be able to get the black suit Spider-Man fixed with all of these newly refined sculpts coming out?
I'm glad they steer away from the previous one, because it did look like the Shrek bad guy, the prince. I forgot the guy's name. It was amazing.
Prince Farquaad. Lord
Yeah, I think that was hilarious. But yeah, I mean, it looks good, but it's still not. It's an improvement, but not dead on. And
Sure.
but I like this. I'm more into the tailoring. The tailoring, I think it's beautiful. I mean, it looks great. It's a very unique. Somebody mentioned like an old school type of Jedi with the, a trainer. But it looks good. I mean, can't wait to get it. But yeah, I mean, you gotta admire the tenacity for those guys. Those fellas that are trying to get that Spider-Man suit fixed. And if Hot Toys does listen, I think they should listen to those guys for sure. And then they should at least listen to also as well as my man Blue Tattoo, and give us an Okoye figure, because that's also one that has to be done. And now that you see Hot Toys, pulling figures from Disney parks, who knows? They do have the Dora Milaje at Disney Park, so who knows? We might be able to see, if not Okoye, it might be somebody else, but it's still.
I'd want to see her in her Dora Milaje outfit, though. I wouldn't want to see her from the newer film where her outfit changed. I think the original look would be my preference here. But
I agree. So, but yeah, they are listening, and they just, whatever's convenient to them, or whatever it's the least path of resistance, they will go for it and do it. So.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I'm glad we're getting this. It's been, how long has it been? 2 years?
Yeah, at least now, I think. Yeah, my goodness. To the point where I don't even remember the show anymore. I'd have to go back and rewatch it just to re-up myself here. Now, I was going to ask Chris whether he'd get this figure or not, but I know he likes the original trilogy so much. I expected this to be his response.
How about new?
But I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. What are your thoughts on this figure, Chris?
My first thought is like this. Seeing this picture, the tailoring looks good. I don't remember him looking like this in the show, like, at all. But this is like a cool generic Jedi robe. Like, I don't know, man. That shot with the hood up looks pretty nice. But then you remember this show, and I'm like, what am I doing here, right? But you're right that there was just something about the beard looked really weird on that earlier head sculpt, and I'm glad they sort of took note, because you sometimes wonder how well the online chatter translates to them, and how much they pay attention to it. And it didn't seem like an uproar, because it's like, how can you get so passionate about this figure really at the end of the day, right? It's from the Kenobi show, but it's a big improvement. And look at the hair, I don't know how else to say it, but the resolution of the sculpt on the beard looks sharper than it did before. Like, it looked like a softer beard on that first one. And I don't know, there was something about it that, like, everybody said he looks like he was stung by a bee or something. I don't know. It was a puffy mustache or something, and they fixed
reaction.
that. Yeah. It looks better for sure. But I genuinely wish the show didn't exist. So that's how it is.
Yeah.
That's fair. What, are you kind of in the same boat, Pete? What are your thoughts, buddy?
Yeah, I don't. I do have. I bought the Kenobi Vader just because I thought it was cool to have the the partially exposed Hayden face. But yeah, I think I could have lived without it existing. I never. I always kind of knew they were going to put in a face off between Vader and Kenobi, which the original film seems to suggest that that obviously that hadn't happened, that it had been a long time since they'd. So whilst the scenes were those scenes were entertaining, I could have lived without it, to be fair. I don't think it really added anything to didn't take anything away from my my love and passion for the original trilogy. But oh yeah, I mean that's bad, that one.
Like this to that,
definitely, yeah.
This
it's
or that. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, you look at that and you go, yeah, but it's still not, it's still not Ewan McGregor for me. But that one's terrible. Yeah,
I see him a lot more.
Much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. No, crazy comparison.
That
was one that needed an upgrade.
The hair got a little more volume too. That's helping. The hair is a little bigger. It's tight on that old one.
To be honest, if they keep doing sculpted hair this well, I don't feel as much of a need for artisan, because like at a distance, this is going to look beautiful in terms of hair sculpting. I love my, we were talking TVA Loki earlier. TVA Loki is one of the best examples for me right now of sculpted hair in my collection. Like you can see individual strands in the sculpting. It looks fantastic. So, and I can really only see Evil Sneaker in this photo now. So I feel like if I really truly want a Steve in my collection, I'm going to go after it. But I love you, buddy. Handsome man there. Evil Sneaker. Make sure you guys check out Sneak Peek this evening on Evil Sneaker's show. Him and How You Figure have been doing great on Sunday evenings. Really entertaining show. So
I think you make a great point there, Ben, as well, that we're always very hypercritical about these sculpts and everything. But the reality is that most of the time we're viewing them from 6 feet away. And it's not to forgive or make excuses for sculpts not being perfect, but they're not going to be perfect. And I think the rooted hair always has that real pop and when you've got it in hand and you're looking at it right here. But I think it does diminish as you kind of put it in the cabinet and look at it from a normal viewing angle. And I think you're right. I think this would be would look fantastic.
Totally agree, dude. It's the distance, even like at a 2 to 3 foot distance for me, some of these sculpts really truly hit.
Yeah.
Honestly, all of them. Every figure that I have that I've been a little bit critical of the sculpt on, where they're sitting in the room, kind of when I look around right now, they're beautiful. So, and it's artwork. I mean, the human is hard to capture because it moves so much. So,
and I think that because my collection's got quite big now, and I've sort of filled in a lot of characters. I have got sculpts in my collection that I don't think are the best, but you kind of have to, you have to figure that's the best is available. So I'm happy to have that representation, but obviously, you want them to look as close as possible to the source material.
Selfishly, though, I still will say that I do hope that they make an original trilogy Obi-Wan again at some point in 2.0. I think that original sculpt was still amazing. It still honestly holds up beautifully. That would be a really good contender for a this or that video, because it's like that original is really good. But it's just unavailable for most people now.
I've got a custom on mine because I thought it was good, but
still
again,
there was improvement available.
Yeah, but it's a great figure, and it does go for silly money. So I'd like to see a 2.0.
You're not wrong. I was trying to search one out the other day, and I think I saw one for like $900.
Yeah, and I'm not precious about the custom. If Hot Toys brings out a 2.0 and the sculpt is better than the custom one, then I'm buying it. Because I want the best of, particularly of A New Hope. Which is
I'm
Absolutely.
one of the poor saps that got rid of it and wishes he would have gotten it back.
Yeah,
So
fair.
hopefully we get a 2.0.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
Guys, we have about 15 minutes left of the show here, and there's a couple more topics that I do still want to roll through. But great thoughts there. Let us know in the chat or on the replay, are you guys getting Obi-Wan Kenobi in your displays? And if so, which one? Or is it all of them? Because there's like vastly different looks. We don't even have the Padawan Anakin yet. Obi-Wan yet, which I would love to see. So we'll see. We'll see how she goes. But I personally think I only probably need one. And so I'm still holding out for the older version. Jazz Inc. did have a lot of news this past week with regards to their test batch of their Batmobile, people getting it in hand, the 89 version. He put up a really interesting post today that said, yesterday he essentially made it available for people to cancel, I think at basically a full refund. And nobody canceled. So there was a lot of negative noise in the community over the last week and a half, 2 weeks. Yeah. And it seems like that's all it really truly was, which was negative noise. I'm happy that they're a company that gives collectors an opportunity to have a voice and have an opinion. Even if it's to their detriment, which in this last 2 weeks, it really feels like that was exhausting to watch. I didn't even really cover most of that news. I purposely didn't have Let's Get Nuts last week because I did not want to spend a half a show talking about negative bullshit, to be honest. I think that's crap. I got the Hot Toys one behind me. I love my Hot Toys one. When I posted my review on the Hot Toys one, I had several people call me cheap. I had several people say, wow, you look so happy. I'm surprised because you got the shittier version. Like, I got so many negative comments, despite all of the positive comments I also got. Those ones stood out because like it felt very much like a personal attack. That was a video. It was a very raw video for me.
Yeah.
Sorry, bro.
It is what it is. I had a hard time showing it very well because it's so big, as you guys know. So I had to kind of stand back in the room, which means I couldn't cut my footage.
What about
like
the
I normally
Batmobile,
do. What's that? Sorry,
But what about the Batmobile?
I don't understand.
Oh, you're saying it's so big and you couldn't get it all on screen at once.
Oh my god!
I got it.
Okay, I see where you went there. But yeah, no, it was a really raw video for me, and I was honestly nervous to even post it because I knew people would just shit on the excitement, and that is kind of a crappy feeling. At the same time, it had something like 4,000 views and only probably about 15 people who were truly, truly negative. Most people were like, "That is awesome, congratulations!" And I think that's how we should be as the community. Yes,
still a
I
great
am.
pickup.
Well, and that's the thing. Yes, I am kind of cheap because I really wanted the Batmobile, but I don't feel like I needed to spend the Jazz Inc. dollars to get it. That one will be a wonderful representation in my own collection.
Dropping $600-700 in a Batmobile, that's not cheap.
Oh, well, that's what I thought, but it didn't feel cheap.
No, that's not cheap.
Didn't feel cheap. On the other hand, Jazz Inc. is likely going to give us a Batman the Animated Series Batmobile at some point, and I'm like, ooh, I'm thinking of my future house. I'm thinking of my future collection, and I would really, really like an Animated Series Batmobile. So I don't necessarily need to go through the whole panel on this one unless anybody really wants to chat about this one specifically. This is obviously just a very early version of just kind of what the shape could look like, some of the potential mechanics on the inside, and depending on the level of support, I think that they could go really hard into this and make it truly amazing. I am hoping that it has more of that pearlescent look that has a little bit of blue mixed in with the black depending on the lighting. I think they could do a great job there. I saw in your video, Philly, that the 89 Batmobile you have from Jazz has a bit of that green tinge to it, which is like so good. So good. And so I would love to see something like that with this car. This would be one that I would consider making as my first potential Jazz Inc. purchase, alongside, I guess, the Catwoman, because I'm also really excited for Catwoman. So, but anybody on the panel, do you guys have any thoughts on the Batmobile here? A very early rendition, or even any of my commentary just with regards to the 89 Batmobile stuff.
I'm just glad he's adding. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Luis.
Oh no, I was just saying I'm sorry you had to go through that. I mean, I've had the Hot Toys Batmobile, sold that to our buddy 14 Wellington, and missed it since I've sold it. Had an opportunity to get the Jazz Ink, and I didn't because people focus on different franchises and characters, and at the end of the day, it's your collection, right? If you want to invest more in one piece versus another, and there's maybe a better version of it, so be it. It's your money. You're the one that has to enjoy it, and for people to just shit on your parade for no
for the sake of
reason.
it.
Yeah,
Just for the sake of it.
Yeah, I mean, we all have pieces that we love more so than one another, and who are you to tell me that I need to get a better version and vice versa, right? That's just how I see it. So this is a great piece. Jazz Inc. does amazing pieces. Some people just don't want to spend the money for that. They'd rather spend the money on something else. So that's the way it's
I think, to my view, the biggest disappointment is they've got these. Whichever one you've got a fantastic Batmobile, and you've got a pretty shitty 2.0 89 Batman to go with it. That's got to be where the real disappointment is, I think.
For sure. Well, actually, that was something that I'm excited for Jazz to potentially make is the Batman that can fit into the cockpit. I think that's like a great idea. I think that's really cool, for sure. But go ahead.
I just wanted to ask you guys one thing about this, because like as someone who's like not really deep into 1/6 collecting, do you guys think Jazz Inc. should even be like doing stuff that's like based on an animated show like this, just in the sense that it's like, is that level of detail compared to the source material even relevant for the type of product they usually provide? Like, it seems kind of extra to me, but I'm not sure what you guys think about that.
That's a great question, Chris. And I was going to state in regards to that, I did see. I mean, it is animated. I'm not much of an animated figure collector because I don't like the What If series. I've not really got into those Hot Toys because it takes it out of the realism. But at the direction that Yost said that he wanted to go is he wants to go with a splash animated along with realism. And this right here, you may see it's very simple and clean, but you gotta also consider that the style of it, the animation was Art Deco minimalist. So this Batmobile, its true intentions is minimalist Art Deco, and I think it's beautiful. You don't need to add all the bells and whistles. In fact, he had a prototype that he showed, or not a prototype, a render that showed the more realistic look, and it looked horrible. And we all
everybody was like, most people were like, no, we want the other one more.
Yeah, we went back to the original one. So to answer your question, that was a great question, Chris, and I was just like said, yep, I agree with that. So, but yeah, I think it looks great, and I'm just glad he added the engine. That just takes it up on another level. So, but
yeah, for sure. And just to tag on to that, Chris, as well, for me, I think, I think in this last 2 weeks, it's been interesting to see how many, well, and we've seen it within art, I guess, too, but how many collectors feel like this really like strong urge to support one company over another, depending on where they plan to make their purchases from, potentially. And I think I think it's almost a bit of a shame because it's like, I mean, I'm surrounded by Hot Toys, but I'm also going to have in-art in my collection. I would love to get a Jazz Inc. in my collection. I have 3-0 in my collection. I have Mars Toys in my collection. I have So-So Toys in my collection. Like, as long as these companies are passionate about what they're making and they do the best of their ability to create it for us, I will continue to support any company that comes my way. If Yost thinks that he can do this car justice and make it look freaking sweet for the price especially, I'm so on board with supporting that for folks to get it in their collections. And again, if I'm not so cheap or if I can afford to do it myself, get one as well, because Batman the Animated Series, I'm like half the person I am today because of the Ninja Turtles and the Batman Animated Series. So like for me, this is just like so good. I'm still holding out hope he's going to do a Jurassic Park Jeep as well at some point. But
I don't mean to drag this out. I really don't. But like, I understand that it's an incredibly iconic design. It's just, to me, it's like the price point and I don't know if he announced the price point for this yet, but it's like if you look at the source material, I don't see how he can make something that should be near that price point, because at the end of the day, their source material is a few lines and one color or two colors. You know what I mean? Like, it's the level of detail he usually does. He's adding stuff that you don't see on the show, basically, to get it to be more interesting. Like, who's going to display it with the engine open, right? I don't know. I think it's going to look good, but I feel like he's working to get to a price point rather than working for like accuracy per se.
I agree, Chris, but I think what in fact I thought about it too. The same thought you just said right now. I thought about it. Like I said, I don't know if the price justifies for the vehicle because it's more of a toy vehicle. But in all honesty, really, I think what it is he places orders, and if he gets enough pre-orders, he'll add all the extra bells and whistles. And these are actually animated related. These are all cartoon specific. The engine. The smoke pellets that come underneath. There's other things he's going to add, but they're all coming straight from the animated series. And not only that, but also the one thing that really pushed to the edge where it said, oh, okay, I can see myself paying that price. It's the makeshift color that he's using. He's going to do a two-tone black and blue that shifts within angle. And that's unheard of. You don't do that in action figures. That's vehicles that you see that in Audis and Ferraris. So I think that's brought up to it's a kind of a high level of exclusivity and craftsmanship where I'm willing to pay that price for all those things that come along with it. So yeah,
nice.
I also think to a certain extent we are talking about two different types of collectors as well, right? There's the 6-scale figure collectors who dabble in vehicles, and then there are the collectors who are vehicle collectors. In which case, De Guito here made a great point, which says Yoast also offered options to what to do next, and the community kind of collectively picked the Batmobile for Jazzing to make. And so for the people who are vehicle collectors, this is a very notable absent version that needs to be in the collection. So I think in fairness of the price point, I don't think we know what the price point is yet. Correct me if I'm wrong out there, guys. I don't know if I've seen any reporting on that. So I don't think it's necessarily fair to be critical of what he's trying to do to meet a price point that we're not necessarily aware of yet.
Well, it's already up for pre-order, Ben. It's already.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
What's it at?
It's the same, I believe. I think it's going to be 15 to 18 with shipping, I believe. So that's what Chris was saying. It's like, the previous one doesn't justify for this one, but it kind of does. But with all the extra things he's adding, So, but to me, originally I thought about it like, say, well, shouldn't it be less? It's animated, shouldn't it be less? But then, he does put in the work. He does put in the accuracy that's part of the show, and the makeshift color that was one of the biggest things that sold me on it, because it's unheard of. Sure. You don't think I've never seen that before.
Yeah, here I am thinking the price hasn't been posted yet.
Right, okay, people, you have to tell me these things, all right? I've been frozen for 30 years, okay? Throw me a frickin' bone here. I'm the boss. Need the info. Okay, no problem.
No problem. That's okay. All right, let's move on. We have an Iron Man Avengers Campus version, and I don't want to take too much time on this because honestly, this will not come to my collection. My Iron Man collection truly really stops at the Mark 1, the Mark 3, the Mark 7, and maybe the Battle Damaged 85. I think for me, those are my favorite suits. They're my most iconic versions. I have never been to Avengers Campus. So this has like no nostalgic value for me at all. The only reason that I think this is super cool is for two reasons. If you've been to Avengers Campus and you like it and it means something to you, or you're an Iron Man collector, because in which case it's exciting. You get another figure to look forward to. For me, this has almost no excitement level at all, unfortunately. But I'd be curious, do any of you guys who have maybe been to Disney parks or Avengers Campus, is this something that you think a lot of people are still going to chase after? Or you think that, the general consensus is kind of how I'm feeling with regards to it? Philly, I think you've been to Avengers Campus, if I'm not mistaken, or at least Disney parks. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, that's why I said the Dora Milaje. We might get, never know. But yeah, and I mean, I think it's just trying to make use of a certain mold that they have, and they're gonna give us Listerine version. They're gonna give us This version, I understand there's minor variations and changes to it. I'm 50-50 about it because I do like that color scheme. I'm a sucker for paint job and the color scheme and the classic almost look. But there is a Hono Iron Man that just announced, so I think I'm going to wait on this one and pass it because I have plenty of Iron Man, and I think I don't know. I don't know what else, how many other things they can do with Iron Man, but I think I'm kind of right now. I'm going to take a break from Iron Man, and aside from the Hono version, and just focus on other IPs.
Can you imagine the wildly pricey collection that some of these Iron Man setups would be now at this point? But no, great thoughts there, Philly. Pete, it sounds like it's bedtime for you, good sir. You're only missing one slide anyway, so you're all good there. Is there anything else coming up for you, buddy? Anything that we can look forward to? You kind of joked about a collection tour. Is that something you've actually
No, I
considered,
keep meaning to do it. Yeah, it will be coming soon. Absolutely. But yeah, now it's all finally in place. But no, hopefully I'll be on here again soon.
Open invite anytime.
But it's been a great show, guys. Thanks for
man.
thanks for the chat, and
Later,
see you all soon.
Yeah, take care. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks again.
Cheers, bye.
Right on.
Thank you.
Right on. Anybody else on the panel here looking at this Iron Man as something that you are interested in, or shall we move to the Beetlejuice?
I have it.
You have it? Really? Okay,
Yeah,
tell us about it. Tell us about it.
I like it. I mean, I was telling some of the other guys, this is what I feel like the 85 should have looked like. I actually swapped the helmet for the 85 helmet because I didn't like the vents, and it looks a lot better, at least to me. But I think the color scheme, the larger arc reactor, the design looks good, and it isn't even really true to the Avengers Campus type paint job. That's more of, I feel like that's more of a Mark 42 color scheme, like the gold that they use. But I think this figure, it looks good, but it's not necessary. Again, I went to D23. I'm a sucker for Iron Man. And if that was the only way to kind of get that exclusive, then so be it. I also have the Avengers Campus Spider-Man too, so
with the churro?
Kind of, yeah. The churro accessory, yeah. So yeah, I was...
It's like half the value of that figure now at this point.
Exactly, yeah. But I think this is more of like kind of what, if they did do a 85 2.0, it would probably look like this as far as the paint and the cleanness of it. It's a good looking figure, but it's not necessary for sure.
Did yours come with a shawarma, as Valkyrie Magnus is reminding of us?
Yep.
Yeah.
The shawarma and the churro, you gotta have them both.
Wild. That's wild.
Yeah.
You know what though? Again, I see the impact of, like, I like whenever I'm on vacation in a place I've never been, I'm always like, where's the local toy store? Do they have hot toys? Like, what could I bring back as like a little souvenir for myself, right? And if I was at something like a D23 or something along those lines, like, hell yeah. I mean, that would be maybe the tipping point for me, where if I could lock one in, I would. But again, it's very like nostalgic and like event specific to me. So, but that's cool that
I was hoping that they would do like a Deadpool. Like they already released some of the batch of Deadpool. They could have easily have thrown in an accessory. I was hoping they'd make some type of Deadpool variant, but then this Iron Man came out. I'm like, great, here's another one. And of course, the sucker in me got it. But we'll see the next D23s in 2 years. We'll see what other campus they'll bring out. But if they did a King Thanos, which is the ride that they're working on, I think that Thanos would look way better than even the Thanos that
100%.
we've seen in the movies.
100%. Yeah, the King Thanos. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
That'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. Evil Sneaker says, freaking love me some shawarma, so good. I'm actually going to get shawarma in about 15 minutes after the show wraps. That's what my dinner will be today. Although I can't eat the pita portion, so I can only have it in a salad. You don't make friends with salad, I'm told, but it's still going to be pretty good. That's half the reason I'm like, let's wrap it up. I'm freaking hungry here. I'm just kidding. I love you guys. No, that was great thoughts here. Last thing that I want to talk about is the Beetlejuice figure. Again, we're getting into that kind of territory of slightly older news now, but I did get a chance to see Beetlejuice this week. And I will correct my original video. I did a this or that video on the Sideshow version versus the this version of Beetlejuice. And to be honest, at first I looked at this likeness and went, that does not look like Michael Keaton. I don't see it in there. I don't like the expression. And because of my nostalgic punch in the chest that I always talk about, the original version is going to be still the one that comes to my collection. Now, I also then posted a recent video that said, I'm also a little bit worried about the Sideshow one, because they showed a short of that one, and I'm like, it doesn't look as good as crispy as it was, but I'm still going to keep my pre-order. I'm going to let it come in. I want to get it in hand and judge it for myself. And maybe I'll have to reach out to you, Philly, to get that suggestion on a hair wax again to grease up his hair a little bit. The reason I'm correcting myself is now that I've seen the film, I do think this looks more like Michael Keaton now as Beetlejuice. I do. I didn't love the volume of his hair in the new film. To keep it spoiler light, for me, because the original film is such a nostalgic movie for me, I don't think this film was ever going to officially get me in the feels. Did I have fun with it? Yes, there was definitely some fun moments, but there was also a lot of things in there that I was kind of it felt like visual noise. I thought there was too many characters. They kept repeating some of the same jokes that we've had in the past. There was some stuff in there that just didn't totally make sense for me in terms of the story. I thought the story was very story light. Overall, I think the big bad was underused. There was a lot of things that I just really didn't love. So if you guys want to hear my an actual spoiler critical take on it, I'd be happy to share it with you. I just didn't want to be negative and take the wind out of people's sails if they liked it. I went with two different people to see this movie. One was like me. We're seeing two Chris's right now. One was like me, who was a big Beetlejuice fan from the late 80s. And the other friend that was with me had only seen the first Beetlejuice 2 weeks ago. And the friend that saw it only 2 weeks ago said that he actually liked this new Beetlejuice more. That he had more fun with it. He thought it was cooler, he thought it was funnier, he thought it was more visually impactful. He just liked this new film more. And the friend like me, who had seen the past and loved the original, kind of felt the same way that I did. So, all of that being said, I would rather not have a Beetlejuice in my collection than this Beetlejuice. This is not Beetlejuice for me. It just isn't. If anything, I would actually rather see an animated representation of Beetlejuice, because the new film felt more like an episode of the animated show to me than an evolution of the characters that we saw from the first. So for me, this is not coming in my collection. I think it's wildly overpriced at $330. I don't think there's any business that a guy in a suit, even if he comes with a cool diorama display and hair that's glued to his head, should be anywhere close to that Terminator that we talked about earlier, which also comes with multiple head sculpts and a base and all of the things. It just doesn't make sense to me price point wise. So this is a no-go for me. Philly, what are your thoughts on Beetlejuice? Have you seen the newest film as well? And what are your thoughts on the figure?
Interesting facts. You think I've seen the original, but I've never seen the original up until last night.
So you're like my other friend then that had just seen it. Okay.
I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I haven't seen it as a whole. So yeah, until last night, I just decided to just put it on. It was on Max, and I just watched it and enjoyed it. It was really cool. I liked it a lot. And but some of obviously the special effects were a little dated, but you can tell right away. But I watched it because I want to see this one. So I'll let you know how that goes. But I do see Michael Keaton. I do, the Sideshow looks good, but I don't like you. I don't have the personal attachment to the movie because I just saw it yesterday. So this one looks, I love the craftsmanship on it. I love the details. Look at this particular shot right here. It looks amazing. That's Michael Keaton. Some other angles he looks less, and I agree with others because they say that he doesn't look. I mean, that one doesn't look like him, but
Spot on.
I had a premonition that this was actually going to come because I knew it's like, wait, there's a new movie coming in about 6 months, and Sideshow is offering a Beetlejuice. I'm like, I wonder if Hot Toys is going to grab the license for the new film. And here we are 6 months later. So definitely getting this one. I think the value is there with the base and all the fixins, and I think it's great they used the wool hair implantation. So I think it's awesome, and this is obviously not going to be one of those Q figures. So by all means, let's go for it, because I'm a big fan of movies. I love movies, and kind of like Luis too, to have a representation of a film like Indiana Jones, Beetlejuice. It doesn't matter if it's horror, comedy, or action. I think it's a great essential to the collection to have something like this. So yeah.
Fair. I think one of the things that I loved about the original Beetlejuice was not even necessarily Beetlejuice himself, but the heart in that film. Like, that film was really centered around the Maitlands, and they're a young, loving couple who you don't get to know for very long before they die, right? And it's their path into Tim Burton's version of the afterlife, and what does that look like for them, and what does that mean for their existence, and what does that mean for their home that they love, and how does their relationship to the people who are going to come in and move in when they have to now share this place together, and then the factor of Beetlejuice, which is he's zany, he's a little wild, he's super inappropriate. Some of his jokes from that movie I don't think could be very PC today, but he's also it feels like a real story, like we're watching real people go through this experience, and that version of the afterlife is real. And what I don't love about the new film is that I don't get that sense of heart. I don't get that sense of realism. It feels like a really, really good Saturday Night Live version of a Beetlejuice story, or again,
Ben,
almost more like the animated series.
Did you watch the cartoon series? I mean, that's also things that.
Yeah.
So you were a big fan of that?
I wouldn't say I was a big fan, but I liked it for different reasons. It was more silly, kind of like the new film. It was a lot more like Lydia, for example, and Beetlejuice in that show are more like friends, not like a romantic interest, because she's like a teenager in that show. So it would have been super inappropriate for it to be a love interest. So they were more like buddies, as opposed to who solved issues, in the spiritual realm. And I thought it was fun. It was a fun show. But of course, this striped suit is certainly more iconic for the cartoon, in my opinion, than even the film. The first film, in my opinion, the best version of that character from Beetlejuice is him wearing his bus driver outfit from the first scene when you first see him burst out of the ground. Like, that would have been a sideshow figure even that I would have liked to see, or a Hot Toys version. But Chris, what are your thoughts on...
Sorry, wasn't it technically the cowboy the first one? Or am I wrong?
Yes, actually, you are right. Cowboy version is on the TV. Yeah, 100%. You are right. Yeah, that's true. I never thought about that being the first version. Yeah, you're 100% right. Chris, what are your thoughts on the original Beetlejuice if you've seen it, and maybe the new film if you have seen it as well as this figure? What are your thoughts?
I have, believe it or not, I have seen Beetlejuice, the classic Tim Burton film. But yeah, man, I rewatched the original like the day before I saw the new one, and honestly, it's like it was great and enjoyable, but like it seemed really sort of like it prioritized comedy, and like it was the stakes are very loose. It felt really disjointed for me, and not in a bad way, but just more of like it made me reflect on that Tim Burton didn't take it too seriously. Like, it's similar to the sequel, and where like a critical point in the movie, an antagonist is resolved because a cartoon desert snake worm just eats them within 2 seconds, and the main characters didn't have to do anything to resolve that issue. It just, it resolved itself. It happens in the sequel too. And I just think that tonally I feel like they're very much in line. Maybe it was missing a little bit of the heart that you got in the original with the Maitlands, but I don't know, man. I really enjoyed the second one, and partially because it's sort of like Tim Burton finding his roots. Like he talked publicly about having the worst directing experience of his life working on Dumbo, and there's even like a slight little jab at Disney in the sequel, which is hilarious to me. And it's it's like he pretty much has said as much, that he'll never work with Disney again, which is like we need to hear more of that from our great directors, if you ask me. But I don't know, I don't mind this as a sort of like non-scene specific sort of definitive 1/6 Beetlejuice. I think the hair looks a lot better than the sideshow. I don't think that's even debatable. The in-hand shots of that sideshow we saw recently, it looks a little thin compared to this, but does he look like how he does in the original movie? How many films from 35 years ago can have mostly the same cast? Period. It's pretty crazy. It helps when one of your leads was like 14 when they filmed the first one, but still. Yeah, man. I don't know. I had a good time with it. I think people look at the original with rose-colored glasses a little bit. It's not Shakespeare, but it's a fun time, and I felt the same way about the sequel. And I think this looked pretty good. I think of this striped suit when I think of this character. Maybe the animated series has something to do with that.
I love how much you guys push back on me. I love it because to me it makes for such more like so much more meaty of a conversation because I kind of agree with you. I definitely have the rose-colored glasses on for Beetlejuice 1. I 100% know I do. I just grew up with that movie. Like,
Yeah.
the minute the theme song starts in that movie, like, it's just like, I'm sold, right? But I did love the story of the Maitlands, and I did love the heart, like I talked about, and I love that I felt like I could take that movie more seriously. But of course, like most of us do if we're with a group of friends, right? After a movie, you stand out in the parking lot for 10 minutes, smoke a joint or whatever, and we're just shoot the shit and talk, and one of the things that, really came to light for me was, while I came out expecting everybody to feel like I did, which was, I kind of just hated lots of that movie, and like some of it was okay, but I don't know if I liked it. As soon as I started talking about the movie with my friends, I was like, okay, that was kind of funny. And I liked this scene where this, or did you see this in the background? That was hilarious. And like, I think this movie might have legs for me in the sense of once I can chill out a little bit again and watch it again, maybe in my home theater and really kind of dive into what I'm seeing in the background.
Yeah.
My love might come more for it for sure.
Amazing Danny DeVito cameo as well. Like that was
Wild.
good stuff.
Wild. Louis, last but certainly not least, good sir. What are your thoughts? Did you see the Sideshow version that came out? Did you see this Hot Toys version come out? Did you go for either of them in terms of figures for your display? And, spoilery free as much as possible take on Beetlejuice if you've seen it.
Yeah, I saw the second one pretty much opening night. My wife and I, big fans of the first one, and very iconic, of course. I still like the first better, for sure. The second one had its good parts. I feel like they were trying to kind of repeat history in some aspects, and it just didn't land on a bunch of it. But there's some memorable parts for sure. Keaton did great as Beetlejuice. But as you said, there's a lot of characters. I feel like there's a few different plot holes that they just try to square it off, and it just didn't work out. But for the most part, it wasn't a terrible sequel. It was kind of what I expected. It's just going to add a little bit more lore to the character, but it's not going to do much to leave a legacy. In terms of the figures, it's tough because I feel like the Sideshow has the better, obviously, version of the costume with the boots being over. They're pretty much ankle boots, as opposed to this one looks like they're, just the shorter boots, and they go under the pants. So I think Sideshow costume is more iconic because it's the first one. I saw that video where they're posing it, and yeah, it's just not as good as the prototype, and that's just kind of Sideshow 101. I would possibly still order the Sideshow version over this one. I think this one, or more so the Sideshow one, could benefit from the pomade or a little bit of water-based gel to tame the hair down. I think the biggest thing in that video was they didn't part the top of the hair. It's all really
like he was
fluffy.
electrocuted. Exactly.
And they didn't part it, whereas Hot Toys is, using some product, of course. So yeah, I mean, if both were the same price, I would probably still pick the Sideshow if it had the same accessories as well. But the accessories on this one, it's a lot more abundant, and obviously we know the quality of Hot Toys. So it's a tough choice. I mean, again, I would even kind of consider Frankensteining the two, right? Getting maybe the Sideshow one and getting this head parted out. If you want the ultimate Beetlejuice, I actually saw Mezco put up their Beetlejuice, and that I think is the best Beetlejuice figure that's ever been made. I think if Hot Toys or Sideshow did that, what Mezco put into their figure, I mean, that thing is That thing's
That's the
iconic.
1/12th? Is that the 1/12th?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
comes with
I
like
saw that.
4 or 5 heads.
That
It
was
comes with
originally
little-
on the show sheet, and I cut it actually, which is funny. You
Oh
say
my
that
gosh, yeah.
because I was
Oh, I saw it.
So
I'm like, dude, this is like the best 1/12 figure release. I think it's got a ton of stuff, and that really hits the nail on the head for Beetlejuice. If you can have one Beetlejuice representation, it's a shame it's not 1/6 scale, but that's a great figure that they're going to be putting out. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's a tough kind of toss up. You know, you get the original Beetlejuice with the first Sideshow release. Technically a 2.0 for Sideshow, but then you have the better craftsmanship with the Hot Toys, but it's an older Beetlejuice, so you can't go wrong with either or, but I think most people would probably lean on the Hot Toys one just because of the quality. And I don't know why this isn't an artisan-based figure.
I still
If it
think that
wasn't-
there's I still think that there's confusion on how the hair is like implanted versus glued. I think that's where it's coming out at. Is it's like it's still wool hair that's glued to the sculpt, whereas I think the artisan is like implantation of hair. I think that is the differentiator, because I've seen a lot of folks saying like, why isn't this artisan, or like
Yeah.
why is that like? But I get it in terms of like they need to make a clearer message on what that actually means.
Yeah, 'cause it'd be like
there is a
$100
lot of confusion
difference.
there. And I could even be completely wrong. That's literally just an educated guess from kind of what I've seen on the posts. So I could be completely wrong. Maybe there's no difference. So
I mean, it's got
but
the separate rolling eyeballs. It's got the wool hair. I know Wonder Woman, wasn't an artisan, but it has the wool hair, and of course she didn't have the separate eyeballs. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like they're just throwing that name out to get an extra $85 or $100 on the figure, and they know no
Well, and
one's
to be
gonna
honest,
probably buy
it would
that.
have it would have helped me justify the price better, honestly.
Exactly.
Like you're 100% right. If it was in the artisan line, I'd be like, okay, I guess because of the hair and stuff, but because it's got that feature but isn't an artisan, then I'm like, okay, well then 100%. Why the
Agreed.
reason? What's the reason for the confusion? Some would say it's a tough nut to swallow for sure. All right, he's going, and oh no! Oh, it's an upset with the nuts. Truly devastating. I meant to play that while Pete was here, so I just wanted to add to that in. Guys, that is the show for the day. That is the note we will leave it on. All very well said. By the way, this sculpt is pretty freaking crazy, and the eyes are wild, but I still don't know if I need it. I don't know. Guys, let's say a quick thank you to our Tough Nut crew. We now have 42 channel members. Thank you so much to everybody who's a channel member. If you have thought about becoming a channel member and you want the easy link, it is now in the chat for you folks. In the Tough Nut crew, who represents... We got Alvin J collecting weekly money, Mendez, 6 Scale Mafia, Katera, Feezy's Figures, King Dingling, Sith Scale Collector, Paul Schreiber, The Batman, The Movie Canon, 1/6 Figure Focus, SpongeBob, Square, Balls, and oh, by the way, Classy Thomas has been notably absent lately. He went through a surgery recently. He's doing okay. He's in recovery. A lot of us haven't heard from him in a little while, so I did call him the other day, forced him on the phone. He's doing well. He is happy to know that the community out there is supporting him and wishing him the best. But everybody, please send your well wishes and love and heart to Classy Thomas. I'm sure he'll be back on top form sooner than later, and we'll definitely get him back here to give us his spicy, weird, awesome takes that he always gives us. But Classy, if you're watching this, we love you, buddy. I hope you're feeling a little bit better for sure. But Rogue One Photography, Peter Cass, Ryan Smith, Collector Joey, Sam Gist, Jose G. Hernandez, 12-inch Moose Dream, Collection Obsession, Blurred Dad Life, Mr. Ink, formerly Danny Spotchka. If you guys see Mr. Ink floating around now, Danny Spotchka. Mr. Ink, Rachel Miller, Honest Hansel, Action in the Box, Figurecraft, Neilerific, Action Figure Academy, X-Men Supreme, Domaton, Kenneth Jacobson, Valkyrie Magnus, Adrian Cervantes, Alex Serrato, Christopher Balzano, Pop Culture Relics, One Adam 12, Evil Sneaker, Trevor Weed, Ryan Dean, and Big Rib, as Dean would say, from Collecting Weekly. Guys, thank you so much for being channel members. Again, just to remind everybody, if you want to be a member, these are the badges that will be beside your name. And these are the emojis you can use in the chat when we are getting nuts on Sundays. All of that being said, if you're here for the first time, this is already the Ben Thomas Show. Please hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. We're making great gains on the subscriber side and engagement side, so thank you guys so much. But that's enough about me. Chris, Vintage Rebellion podcast, collecting weekly as well. What's coming up for you, sir, that we can look forward to?
Yeah, man, you can check out Small Talk for all your 112 action figure news this Thursday on the Collecting Weekly channel. And last Thursday, I got to do movie night on Collecting Weekly with Zach over there, and we talked about Pumpkinhead, the 1988 horror. It's not a classic, but it's directed by Stan Winston, which is interesting. And it's a fun chat, and I get to make my case to Zach why our Lord and Savior Jimmy C is one of the greatest directors of all time. But other than that, this week I got to guest host on one of my favorite podcasts ever, which is called The Unbelievers, and they pretty much just make fun of paranormal documentaries, and that was a great time. So yeah, The Unbelievers podcast this week, I was on there.
Cool. Check it out. The Unbelievers podcast. Check out Movie Night on Collecting Weekly as well. I still have to catch up on that recent episode myself. So maybe that'll be my shawarma meal watch tonight. Let's see. Philly, Figurecraft, always a pleasure to have you here, buddy. Thanks for making your time available. I know you were streaming this morning with Leal too, so you've been making your rounds aggressively in the community, but I think everybody loves to see you and all of your takes. What's coming up for you, buddy, that we can all look forward to?
Well, luckily I have this figure right here to kind of explain the situation. But next week we got Batman Day.
Batman Day.
And I'm looking right across at a 89 Jazz Inc. Batmobile. So been working on some stuff to do kind of a cinematic showcase video. I think we need it in the community because right now everybody's kind of a little bit just a little sad, or we need our hopes heightened because we love Batman. Anything that comes in from Batman, we look forward to it and we love it, and I think we should all collectively enjoy ourselves. So Batman Day on next weekend, and I'll have some content ready for you guys, maybe a video premiere on Saturday, and then maybe some photographs, and we're definitely looking forward to it. Thanks for having me, and it's always a pleasure. Chris, Luis, and then Pete, thank you, and hope you guys have a good week, and hopefully we can do this again.
Absolutely. And I apologize. I almost flubbed again here with 12-inch Moose Stream. My apologies, Moose. I read this in my brain and then forgot to actually announce it out loud. 12-inch Moose Stream using his free super chat of the 8-month membership, which is wild. Once again, I can't even believe I've had memberships that long already. I love you, buddy. Thank you for calling that out. Sorry, I almost missed that again. I got both versions of the animated Batmobile on payment plan. Again, what a flex, man. If you don't show us your collection soon, I don't know. I'm going to have to come down there and see it in person myself. But sorry about that, Moose. My apologies, buddy. As I said, I read it in my brain and not in the actual stream itself. All that being said, Luis, once again, last but certainly not least, Pop Culture Relics on YouTube. Thank you so much for being back here and taking your Sunday afternoon with me to support my show as well. I appreciate all of you guys for that. What's coming up for you, good sir, that we can look out for?
Finally working on a collection showcase video. I was just letting you guys know a little before. It's taken a lot longer than I had anticipated, so for all the content creators and Philly and you, Ben, and Chris, everyone else, I mean, I know the struggle is crazy, and I haven't even really done any videos, so mad props to you guys out there. I'm gonna separate it into like different scales, so like 1/6, quarter, third, all the way up to life size. But yeah, that's coming up, I promise. I have LA Comic Con in a couple weekends. I'm gonna meet Hayden and Ewan. I'm gonna get a photo with them because we're best buddies, of course. That's pretty much it, man. After LA Comic Con, it's just keeping it low key and trying to get my collection finally ready to just let people know what else I have. I know you can only see so much, but yeah. So it'll be nice to get feedback, of course.
Seeing it firsthand, guys, I'm going to tell you that it's quite a beautiful collection. So, definitely, Luis, take your time and
Oh, thank you, man.
It's going to be definitely worth it the way.
Appreciate it. Well, the hype is real now.
And I mean, just an idea, but I mean, we typically have somewhere between 40 to 70 people watching by the end of Let's Get Nuts show. If you're considering what day you want to release it on, feel free to come on Let's Get Nuts, have some chats with us boys, and then literally release it the minute Let's Get Nuts finishes, so we can send everybody in the chat to go over and watch it, get that 40 or 50 views right off the hop. So
Yeah,
if you're interested in that, let's do that. Let us know when you're planning to release it. Well, maybe we'll schedule it that way. So
I appreciate that. Really, it's
hell yeah,
you know, huge, and would love to just get more so feedback, you know, because I'm not used to this, and obviously we all collect and we have a passion, and you know, that's why we do this. And if I can get a little feedback, why not, right? So thank you for that invite.
dude. That
Definitely
filming
take
that
advantage of
filming my own collection room took me 2 weeks of editing and filming before I was able to get it out. And so as soon as I released it, I was like, man, I hope even like 100 people watch this. So like, if we could get 50 right out of the gate, let's do that. But
Yeah,
let me know when you're
I'll
planning to
take it.
release it. We'll schedule
Thank
it with everybody in the chat. But
We'll do for sure.
Great to have you guys here. And like, again, I echo, Sunday is a day for me to relax. And so I always feel bad asking people to come on the panel, because it's 2.5 hours of their day that you could be doing anything else but be with me and supporting the show. I love you guys for the fact that you are here. Thank you so much, as well as, of course, everybody that watches week over week, whether you're in the chat live with us or you were watching on replay after the football game today, no doubt. But let's be honest here. Billy, I think today it goes without saying, we got nuts. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Wow, what a great audience. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Because subscribing makes you feel good.
What should I go? What should I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
It's gone. It's all gone.